Chapter 47-43. The so-called mother insect is the real insect race. Huang Tong explained, this mother insect has an unusual ability. It can't give birth to children, but it can give birth to children that are exactly the same as itself in a special place. Oh, it's similar to Confucian calligraphy. However, these children are not real, but a kind of illusion or empty shell. When there are many children, the mother insect will lead these children out, just like there are so many mother insects. When the children attack the enemy, the mother insect will hide in the middle of the children and give the enemy a fatal blow. Of course, because these children are illusions, they don't have any souls. That must be it. Xiao Hua nodded. I also don't believe that there are living things without souls in this world. Furthermore, if these mayflies came from the upper realm, they definitely wouldn't fly into the 3 continents in groups. It could only be one or a few mother insects that broke into the upper realm and then gave birth to so many child insects in the void. And so killing these children is simply treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Huang Tong continued, only by finding the mother insect and killing it can we eliminate the mayflies from the root. AI, don't talk about treating the symptoms and not the root cause. Xiao Hua pointed at the Fortune Gate disciple who killed the mayflies and said, my Fortune Gate disciple is so brave, but he can't even deal with these children. Now, I can't even think of a way to treat the symptoms. Huang Tong seemed to have a plan. He smiled and said, if I'm not wrong, if the 3 continents want to avoid this disaster, not only can we go to the Dawn Rain continent to find the heterogeneous true qi, we can also find the mother insect in the void of the 3 continents. Both methods have to be carried out at the same time. You're right. Xiao Huan narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment, then replied, if we go to the Dawn Rain continent, the Immortal Palace, Thunder Temple, Great Sage Hall, and Dragon Island will look for the mother insect in the 3 continents. There's no need to jump to conclusions. Huang Tong was a little worried. If there's an immortal array outside the 3 continents, my space escape technique may not be able to pass through the realm barrier. I know. Xiao Hua comforted. When this matter is over, we will go and verify it. Several days later, the Fortune Gate's disciples killed all the mayflies in the vicinity of the mountain ridge. Xiao Hua also learned from Zhen Jie that Chun Zhang's group's encounter with the mayflies was purely an accident. The mayflies were merely here to devour the spiritual energy around the mountain ridge, and coincidentally ran into Chun Zhang's group who were passing by the mountain ridge. Moreover, as soon as the mayflies appeared, Zhen Jie was about to fly away with Chuanzang. However, Chuanzang insisted on leaving by himself, which was why he was surrounded by the red mayflies. Xiao Hua angrily scolded Zhen Jie while at the same time warning Chuanzang, although the road must be walked step by step, but when encountering danger, one must also jump and walk. Chuanzang saw how much the 6-eared macaque had sacrificed for him, so he agreed to let Zhen Jie take him away if they were ever in danger again. Only then did Xiao Hua feel at ease and allow Chuanzang, Zhen Jie, and Jin Kong to continue their journey. After sending Chuanzang away, Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun mirror and collected the Fortune Gate's disciples. He then narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment before saying, fellow Taoist, you said before that if you want to go to the 10,000 demon realm, you need to know the 10,000 demon realm's realm dimension or aura. I don't have the 10,000 demon realm's realm dimension here, nor do I have the aura of the 10,000 demon realm, but I do have an aura similar to the 10,000 demon realm here. I wonder if it will be useful? Huang Tong himself was not sure. He smiled and said, I can't answer you now. I have to look at your so-called aura similar to the 10,000 demon realm's aura, then find the edge of the 3 continents that is closer to the 10,000 demon realm. The aura of the 10,000 demon realm's realm is easy. Xiao Hua smiled and said, fellow Taoist, please enter the jar. But Huang Tong sensed Xiao Hua's mind and did not evade. His body was sent into the spiritual world inside the space by Xiao Hua. How is it? Xiao Hua's mind entered and turned into a jade archive. Xiao Hua looked at the surprised Huang Tong and smiled. Good. Huang Tong flapped his wings and praised, the spiritual energy here is so abundant, and the aura of all living things inside is very enjoyable. Our realm is the place I should come. Fellow Taoist, if you like it, you can come more often in the future. Jade Archive Xiao Hua nodded and said, I want to know what you mean. Ha. Huang Tong laughed and said, fellow Taoist, don't worry. I have already sensed this aura when I returned to the 3 continents that day. It is near the space where I met fellow Taoist. Ah? Really? Jade Archive Xiao Hua's face was full of surprise. He shouted in disbelief. Of course. Huang Tong nodded seriously and said, isn't fellow Taoist's luck the best in the world? Even the luck of a Confucian cultivator is a fart to fellow Taoist? Ha, just kidding, just kidding. Jade Archive Xiao Hua waved his hand embarrassedly and said, how about we return to that space now and confirm it again? I will listen to fellow Taoist's instructions. Huang Tong said, and followed Jade Archive Xiao Hua out of the spiritual world, directly tearing the space, using the space escape technique to come to the previously unformed realm. At this time, the realm had already begun to gradually recover, and Xiao Hua could not sense the existence of the space. After Huang Tong entered the space, he flew to a place, then flapped his wings, and strange runes appeared on his wings. These runes were like tadpoles, and also like flying shadows. They fell into the air and disappeared. Moreover, as Huang Tong continued to dance, the runes poured into the void like an endless river. After a full meal, Huang Tong's demonic body trembled slightly. Only then did the runes slowly diminish. Huang Tong let out a phoenix cry, and his other sharp claw flashed with a dazzling light, deeply piercing into the place where the runes poured in. Ka-ka-ka. The void was torn apart, and layers upon layers of destructive aura gushed out from the cracks. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept out, and he could already see that within the void cracks, there were strands of multicolored colors. As those colors fell into his divine sense, they transformed into scenes. Some were huge mountain ranges, some were deep wild forests, and some were flying spirits. It was actually 70% similar to the spirit world in the void. However, just as Xiao Hua was about to take a closer look, a dense pitch-black color surged out of the light and shadow, swallowing all the colors in an instant. Even an incomparably enormous force emerged from the spatial crack, forcibly sealing it. This is the power of the realm. Huang Tong explained, the 10,000 demon realm and the 3 continents are 2 different realms, and they are extremely far from each other. It is different from the Xianyuan space's realm connection. The realm passage I opened can't last long, and this realm passage is very fragile. I'm afraid only I can pass through it. Chapter 47-44. Xiao Hua pinched his chin, thought for a while, and said, from the current situation, we can basically confirm that the other side is the 10,000 demon realm. Also, we can confirm that you can use this passage to enter the 10,000 demon realm. Huang Tong nodded and said, however, I don't have much confidence in passing, maybe only 40%. Speaking of this, Huang Tong thought for a while and said, of course, if I return to your body and you use your space escape technique, you should be able to pass. However, this chance will be reduced to 30%. I understand. Xiao Hua nodded. Let's go back to Xiao country first. When Xiao Hua returned to Xiao country with Huang Tong, the Thunderbolt Immortal and Princess Qing were still waiting there. In order to avoid suspicion, Xiao Hua explained Xuanzang's situation in front of Princess Qing. Princess Qing knew that Xiao Hua let the 6-eared macaque go. When she heard it, her cherry lips curled up in disdain. She didn't understand why Xiao Hua didn't take revenge for Yuan Tongtian. However, when she heard that the 6-eared macaque was tormented by karma and even had to give up his physical body, she came to a realization. She looked at Xiao Hua's smiling face and fell into deep thought. After Xiao Hua finished telling the truth, he sighed, Sigh, if Zixia wasn't beside me that day, I would have done it long ago. That way, I could have taken revenge, but now that speaking of this, Xiao Hua's heart moved, and he stopped listening. Astonishment flashed across his eyes as he recalled what the Mahavairakana rebirth, the Dipankara Archaic Buddha rebirth, and the Maitreya Buddha rebirth had mentioned about the Buddha kingdom and the holy light world back in the Thunder Sound Temple. He wondered if Ananda, who was the wisest in Buddhism, had anything to do with this matter. After all, Ananda, who reincarnated as the 6-eared macaque. was also brought from the Dawn Rain continent to the three continents. As for later, when Xiaohua killed the profound armored pentahorn dragon, he actually saw a trace of holy brilliance in the dragon's body. Xiaohua had never seen this brilliance before, and the holy horn of the profound armored pentahorn dragon was different from the horn of the Pegasus. Xiaohua didn't know if this holy brilliance belonged to the holy light world, but because Xiaohua didn't want to get involved in the grudge between the Buddha kingdom and the holy light world, he kept this matter to himself. Maybe Princess Qing didn't notice Xiaohua's actions, but Xiaohua's actions aren't wrong? Xiaohua thought for a moment and secretly laughed. Could it be that the Pentaceratops or Ananda are also related to the holy light realm? Damn it, what does this have to do with me? Let the Mahavirakan's Buddha world. Hua, Taoist. Please speak. Taoist smiled and said, how can I not listen to the sect master's orders? Please head to the Great Holy Hall, Thunder Temple, Dragon Island, and Immortal Palace. Inform them of the Insect Queen's whereabouts, and have them divide their forces to search for the Insect Queen. Xiaohua smiled and nodded. Of course, this isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is to invite the heaven-defying Lightning Phoenix, the Scholar Palace's master, and the others to my Fortune Gate. I have something important to discuss with them. But Taoist scratched his head and said, I know Taoist matter is important, but I don't know where these places are. I'll go with you. As soon as the Thunderbolt Venerable finished speaking, Princess Qing immediately spoke up. Shut up. Taoist scolded. I didn't ask you to speak. However, after Taoist finished speaking, he exclaimed in shock, What? You want to accompany me to the Immortal Palace? Aren't you afraid of being captured by Old Man Gaochen? Princess Qing's face was a little pale. In truth, the Immortal Palace was the place she didn't dare to mention. Immortal Emperor Gaochen's emperor's aura was like a mountain pressing down on her heart. How could she dare to meet Immortal Emperor Gaochen? However, when she heard Taoist speak, she couldn't help but interrupt him. It was as if it was a wonderful thing to be able to help Taoist. Oh, you want to accompany Taoist to the Immortal Palace? Xiaohua looked at Princess Qing in surprise. After all, in his eyes, Princess Qing was a person who sought benefits and avoided harm. Why would she walk into a trap for no reason? Xiaohua couldn't help but think about the little abacus in his heart, wondering if Princess Qing had any other plans. After Princess Qing finished speaking, she felt a little regretful. However, when she saw the suspicion in Xiaohua's eyes, she steeled her heart and looked at Taoist. Without any hesitation, she nodded and said, Of course. Young miss. Yu Xiajing hurriedly advised, You can go to other places, but the Immortal Palace. Humph, what's wrong with the Immortal Palace? If that old Gaochen dares to touch a single hair of Qing, I will tear down the southern heavenly gate for him. Without waiting for Yu Xiajing to finish, the Thunderbolt Immortal coldly snorted and said, Let's go, Qing. This is urgent. Follow me to the Immortal Palace. Yes, this concubine is at your command. Princess Qing's face was flushed with excitement as she replied without hesitation. This servant will accompany Miss. Yu Xiajing could only say in a low voice. All right. Xiaohua looked at Princess Qing and Yu Xiajing and nodded. Then I'll have to trouble Princess Qing to accompany Dao friend Lei to these places. After all, fellow Taoist Thunder has never been to these places. Then, Xiaohua looked at the Thunderbolt Immortal, who was becoming more and more human, and said, Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, this is an urgent matter. Go and come back quickly. I will wait for your good news at the Creation Taoist Palace in the Yuanxi Reef Plain. Alright, I'll leave now. The Thunderbolt Immortal said as he grabbed Princess Qing and Yu Xiajing in his hand. Lightning flashed around his body as he rushed into the sky and flew towards the Earth Fire Wind Lightning Palace. Seeing that the Thunderbolt Immortal had disappeared, Xiaohua smiled and said to Huang Tong, If Zixia was here, she would be happy to see the changes in Princess Qing. Huang Tong nodded and said, In my opinion, although this Princess Qing has a lot of bad things and may have even done some outrageous things, under the influence of the Thunderbolt Immortal, it is not impossible for her to change for the better. Moreover, in the hundreds of thousands of years in the Shenyuan space, I have seen many foreign races, even more so than Princess Qingqing. In the end, among them, there were also those who sacrificed their lives for the sake of their race. I hope that what I saw is the truth. Xiaohua sighed. I really don't dare to believe the people of the Immortal Palace. Xiaohua released his divine sense again and scanned the Xiao country on the ground. Give it a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-45. At this time, the Xiao country was already sparsely populated. The deadline that Xiaohua had instructed Fujiwen to send the message had passed, but there were still not many people who agreed to go to the Shenhua continent. Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and collected all the commoners who were willing to relocate. He then ordered the Fortune Gate's disciples to line up and collect all the commoners. After that, he flew several thousand li away without looking back. He stopped in midair and looked at the Xiao country in the distance with a hint of nostalgia. Don't be too harsh. Huang Tong felt Xiaohua's sadness. He smiled and said, these people have their own lives and have the right to choose. Although the Shenhua continent is good, in their eyes, the Xiao country is a paradise. Of course, I'm not discouraging you, but the remaining people of the Xiao country don't particularly believe in you. You don't have to think about them. After all, Huang Tong had not lived in the four continents for hundreds of thousands of years. His words were different from Xiaohua's. Xiaohua gradually got used to it. He smiled bitterly and said, I know what you said. I know. But I feel that I haven't given them enough. Haven't I treated them well enough? The Xiao country may be attacked by the strange insects in the future. Why can't they listen to me and go to the Shenhua continent? I don't ask them to believe in me or Taoist Xiao. I just want them to live peacefully. Because they don't fly as high as you, don't see as far as you, and don't have the strength to change their lives. Huang Tong replied, because in their eyes, the current life is the best life. The current life is the most comfortable life. The so-called disaster of the strange insects, in your eyes, is imminent. But 100 years, in their eyes, is a lifetime. Xiaohua slowly turned his head, as if he had given up something. He said slowly, I am human, they are human too. I can't force them, I can't force my world on them. This is fate. That's right. Huang Tong looked into the distance and said faintly, that day when I left Yijian he asked me the same thing. He felt that he had already treated me very well, and I had helped him a lot. He couldn't bear to leave me and begged me not to leave him. However, you and everyone else are here. Fellow Taoists, this is my home. No matter how good the mystic essence space is, it's still a foreign land. I can't always drift outside, right? Sai, that's right. In a foreign land, on a different path, those who don't return home are those without roots. Xiaohua also sighed in his heart. The three continents were not his home. The Dawn Rain continent was not his home, and the great desolate continent that he had visited before was also not his home. His home. When would he be able to return? Let's go, we'll return to the Yuanxi Reef Plains. That can be considered our temporary home. Xiaohua lightly smiled, hiding his homesickness deep within. Let's go. Huang Tong let out a long cry and flapped her wings. She tore open the void once more and flew in. When Xiaohua and Huang Tong flew out of the void, they were in the West Sea. Xiaohua naturally could not distinguish between north and south. He looked around and simply sent out the message talisman. Then he asked Huang Tong, I've always wanted to ask you if you're talking about walking in the void, this Xiao and other cultivators can do it too. However, this Xiao saw that the void you're traveling in is not the void we saw before? Of course. Huang Tong smiled and said, this void is not the void we saw before. Moreover, the profound meaning of space escape is different from teleportation. The mystic essence space is a beehive-like world. The profoundness of the study of space laws is far from what the four great continents can compare to. Of course, as a different world, the mystic essence space cannot be compared to the four great continents in many aspects. The Yi Jian ascended to the celestial realm? Xiaohua suddenly asked. Huang Tong hesitated and shook her head. I don't know. After all, I'm not a mystic cultivator in the mystic essence space and I'm only a supporting character. Xiao Huan nodded and asked again. Also, from what you said, you seem to be able to occasionally receive insights from my cultivation in the mystic essence space? Indeed. Huang Tong smiled and said, it is also because of your insights that Yi Jian was created. In his heart. I'm afraid you are the same as Master. Now that I think about it, these insights should have been when you were advancing and communicating with the heavens and the earth, allowing me to sense them in the other world, right? That's not right. Xiao Hua said in bewilderment. When my strength improved the fastest, I was still in the heavenly prison. How could you receive my insights? That I don't know. Huang Tong shook her head and said, anyway, I told Yi Jian that this is what Taoist Master Xiao said. Oh, you told him my name? Xiao Hua asked curiously. Of course. Huang Tong said proudly, you and I are one. I am teaching on behalf of you, how could I not tell him your name? Don't worry, Xiao Hua, Taoist Master Xiao is definitely engraved in his heart. What about the name Huang Tong? Xiao Hua asked thoughtfully, was it also given by you? Huang Tong smiled and said, previously I was still ignorant and did not understand these things. When I received your insights, I also used the demon beast souls in the Shenyuan space to cultivate and gradually gained consciousness. Over time, I also felt that I should have a name, so I gave myself the name Huang Tong. Wonderful. Xiao Hua clapped and said, you are my phoenix dharma body, named Huang Tong. The heaven-defying thunder phoenix is my phoenix avatar, named Feng Wu. Isn't that the concept of phoenix wudong? While speaking, Xiao Hua's expression changed. He looked in a direction and said with a smile, that's right. In just a few days, Lu Yi has already set up such a tight defense in the West Sea. He is really much stronger than me. Everyone has their own talent, but many people don't know what their talent is in their entire life. Huang Tong did not transform into a human form. She still displayed her demon body that was hundreds of feet long. Looking at the vast West Sea, she said lightly. Xiao Hua asked with interest, then what is this Xiao's talent? Good luck. Huang Tong blurted out without any hesitation. Ha! Xiao Hua laughed heartily. He urged his figure to fly somewhere, and his complacent voice reverberated in the air. Good luck is also a talent. This can't be helped. Hearing that the Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master had returned, Lu Yi and the other disciples were overjoyed. Under the lead of Taoist Yun and the Celestial Being, they flew out of the Yuanxi Reef to welcome him. Seeing that Huang Tong and Feng Wu were almost exactly the same, the group of disciples was dumbfounded. However, they soon realized that Huang Tong's aura was completely different from Feng Wu's. Other than a kind of domineering arrogance, there was a kind of naked killing intent and coldness. It was comparable to the Fortune Gate's 9th Old Master, Archdevil Shur. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 47-46. Although Reverend Yun and the Celestial Being had received Xiao Hua's message in their minds, they knew that this phoenix celestial body with a strange aura was Xiao Hua's incarnation, and they also knew that he came from another world. After greeting each other, Reverend Yun stood with a smile on his face, while the Celestial Being looked at Huang Tong from head to toe and asked curiously, earlier, fellow Taoist Xiao said that your cultivation base might be too weak, but who knew that you are so powerful? Why don't you have a competition with me? Huang Tong looked at the Celestial Being, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. They were both Xiao Hua's incarnations, and they were the same person. Why would they compete with each other? Of course, when Xiao Hua told Huang Tong that the Celestial Being did not have a complete human nature, Huang Tong came to his senses. He thought for a while and said with a smile, if so, let's have a competition. If you lose, you have to give me your position as the 8th Master. Alright. The Celestial Being nodded without hesitation and asked, what if you lose? Do you even need to ask? If I lose, I will give my position as the 10th Sect Master to you. Huang Tong also answered firmly. Come, come, come. The Celestial Being rushed up into the sky and shouted, fellow Taoist Xiao, you help us. Xiao Hua was speechless. But when he saw that Reverend Yun was also interested, he said, "Let fellow Taoist Xiao help you." "No problem." Reverend Yun was also thinking about something after a long period of silence. "My sons, the Western Ocean is a vast place, and now it belongs to our fortune gate. You should beat the drums and cheer for our 8th master and 10th master." The disciples who came to greet them all had cosmos bags in their hands. When they heard this, they were all overjoyed. They took out war drums and other things from their bags and rushed up into the sky to beat the drums. Hee, good, good. Xiao Hua was happy to see this and let his disciples do as they pleased. However, Xiao Hua's mind was not on the battle between the celestial being and Huang Tong. He looked around and did not see Princess Zixia and Lao Ai. Of course, Lu Yi wouldn't fly over with the other disciples to join in the fun. Seeing that Xiao Hua was looking for someone, he understood and hurriedly said with a smile, "Master, ever since you left, Princess Zixia and began to organize all the information in Zhai Xing Lu, hoping to find some clues about the 4 great continents. I have already reported the news of your return to Princess Zixia. She should be out soon." Xiao Hua felt quite gratified and nodded as he said, "It's been hard on them." "Oh, that's right. Lu Yi, pass down the order first. Have the 300,000 disciples ready to go." "Yes, master." Lu Yi didn't ask for the reason at all. After agreeing, he issued the order. "Darling Xiao." At this moment, a concerned voice came from afar. Wasn't that Princess Zixia who was flying over? "Zixia, thank you for your hard work." Xiao Hua's silhouette flickered and he immediately landed beside Princess Zixia. However, he didn't make things difficult for Princess Zixia. He only smiled and looked at Princess Zixia. He didn't extend his hand. Seeing that Xiao Hua respected her, Princess Zixia was even happier. She hurriedly asked, "Where's the Grand Mist Ancestor? Is he plotting something?" She then looked at Gao Tian and asked curiously, "When did the heaven-defying lightning phoenix come? Why is he fighting with the Devis? Where is the Fortune Gate's 10th master?" Xiao Hua pointed at Huang Tong and said, "Zixia, look carefully. This is not the Great Holy Hall's heaven-defying lightning phoenix, but our Fortune Gate's 10th master, Huang Tong." "Is that so?" Princess Zixia exclaimed in surprise. "This concubine's cultivation is not high, but this Huang Tong looks exactly the same as the heaven-defying lightning phoenix." The Devis who were fighting suddenly roared and spat out a scarlet beam of light, forcing Huang Tong away. He then shouted, "Stop, stop." Taoist Yun chuckled and said, "How can we stop? I am still waiting to see fellow Taoist Huang Tong be defeated and hand over his position as the 10th master to someone else." The Devis glanced at Taoist Yun and said in a serious tone, "Fellow Taoist Yun, are you stupid? He's already our Fortune Gate's 10th old master, who would put his position in their eyes. I am not going to be fooled. If I win, I will have to hand over my position as the 8th master to him, and if I lose, I will have to exchange my 8th master for his 10th master. This is a losing deal. I will not do it. I am smart enough to see through this guy's sinister intentions before the battle is over." Xiao Hua laughed and said, "Fellow Taoist Devis, Huang Tong is just joking with you. How can I mess up the arranged seats? Let's go. I will sit on the Fortune Gate's throne." "Darling Xiao, this concubine will make way for you," Princess Zixia said with a smile. "Not today." Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, "I have killed the black-armored Pentaceratops, nether demonic dragon spider, and Grand Mist Ancestor. Maybe there are some things I need your advice on." Princess Zixia was shocked, but she asked first, "Darling Xiao, you are not injured, right?" "How is that possible?" Xiao Hua replied, "They are just 2 great sages. How can they injure a Taoist Grand Ascension Stage cultivator? Don't worry. TSK. Your little tail is sticking up again." Princess Zixia's eyes flashed as she whispered to Xiao Hua. Following which, Xiao Hua and the others entered the Fortune Dao Palace. Xiao Hua was the first to sit on the fortune throne. Then he slapped the throne. Rumble. Thunder rumbled as 9 other thrones that looked exactly the same appeared, lining up on the Fortune Dao Palace's high platform. However, although the thrones looked like they were still inside the Fortune Gates palace, they had already disappeared into the void and covered a radius of several miles. Xiaohua sat down and looked to his left and right. He rolled his eyes and said in a clear voice, "Fellow Taoists, my Fortune Gate has 10 patriarchs, and this Xiao is sitting alone in the center. The two sides are not arranged neatly. How about we do this?" As he spoke, Xiaohua waved his hands, and the thrones that were arranged in a row in the void rumbled and gradually gathered together to form a ring. This ring was very strange. Although the two thrones had their backs facing the Fortune Gate's disciples, Lu Yi and the others could see the front of the thrones clearly. Reverend Yun praised, and his dragon body landed on one of the thrones. When Reverend Yun sat down, Lu Yi and the others saw that there was no difference between the size of Reverend Yun's throne and Xiaohua's throne. "I'm here." The heavenly being looked at Huang Tong, afraid that Huang Tong would snatch the 8th master's position from him, so he shouted and landed beside Reverend Yun. Then, Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and saw a Taoist witch and Archdevil Venerable Shi taking their respective seats. "Give it a tip, and thank you for all your support." Chapter 47-47. Welcome, 10th Old Master. Lu Yi and the others didn't dare to delay. They bowed and shouted, "Disciples, please take the 10th Old Master to the Fortune Throne." "Ha, good, good, good." Huang Tong laughed happily. With a flap of his wings, he covered the entire Fortune Dao Palace and landed on the Fortune Throne opposite Xiaohua. Xiaohua looked at the empty thrones on the left and smiled. "This old man has already sent the Lightning Reverend to inform the others. I believe it won't be long before the Fortune Gate's 10 Old Masters return." Princess Xia sat on a jade chair below the high platform with Bayan accompanying her. Lu Yi and the other disciples cheered. "Congratulations, First Old Master. The heavens have blessed our Fortune Gate for 10,000 generations." Good. Xiaohua didn't want to disturb the disciples' happiness. He nodded and said, "Today, this old man will sit in the Fortune Dao Palace to welcome the return of 10th Old Master Huang Tong. Secondly, I would like to tell you all about the things I encountered and the current situation." Xiaohua told them about how the Grand Mist Ancestor had joined hands with the profound armored Pentaceratops and the Netherworld demonic dragon spider to ambush them. When the disciples heard this, they couldn't help but feel indignant. They knew better than anyone how much Xiaohua had sacrificed for the survival of the 3 mainlands. Now, 3 venerable realm cultivators had schemed against him shamelessly. Xiaohua finally said, "This time, it was really dangerous. If Huang Tong hadn't returned, this old man would have been in trouble." However, the profound armored Pentaceratops and the Netherworld demonic dragon spider were killed, and the Grand Mist Ancestor's remnant's soul escaped. They deserved it. This old man left the 1,000 Demons' sacred grounds and went to the hidden Immortal mainland's Shi country. I have already told Fujiwen to announce this matter to the world. Where is Louis? Disciple is here. Lu Yi hurriedly stepped out and bowed. The Grand Mist Ancestor is sinister, but the Sky-Bearing Palace is innocent. No matter what, the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples are part of our Dao sect. We can't let them wander freely in the West Sea and be attacked by those strange insects. Xiaohua ordered, "You are my Fortune Gates sect master's disciple, your status is sufficient. Go to the West Sea's Sky-Bearing Palace personally. If they are willing to join my Fortune Gate, accept them. If they are unwilling to join my Fortune Gate, tell them to leave the West Sea and return to the hidden Immortal mainland. After all, there are human cultivators there. As for the strength of the hidden Immortal continent's Grand Mist Ancestor, this old man has already sent Fujiwen to pacify him." "Yes, disciple understands." Lu Yi accepted the order and hurriedly left with his disciple. After Lu Yi left, Xiaohua looked around before speaking again. "Our Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master, Huang Tong, has returned. Not only has our Fortune Gate's 10th Old Master gathered here, he has also brought good news. That is, I and Huang Tong may go to the 10,000 demon realm through the space interface." Ah? When the disciples heard this, their faces were filled with shock, but in a moment, they were ecstatic. "Not bad." Xiaohua looked at the joyful smiles on everyone's faces, and he was also very happy. He raised his voice and said, "In other words, all of my Fortune Gate's disciples can enter the Kunlun immortal paradise, and this old man will bring all of you out. Leave the 3 continents that have destroyed the world." However, after the Fortune Gate's disciples were ecstatic, they quickly calmed down. Wang Bianfei hurriedly asked, "Master, of course we can leave. But other cultivators, for example?" Wang Bianfei stopped here and didn't know how to continue. For example, who? The hidden immortal continent's Confucian cultivators? The Thousand Demons Sacred Grounds demonic beast clans? The Buddhist sect in the Pure Land? Or the Sky-Bearing Palace's Tao sect? At the end of the day, if Xiaohua's strength was not outstanding, if the Fortune Gate's rise had not exceeded the Buddhist sects and Confucian demonic beast clans' expectations, if the 3 continents' conflicts had not accumulated to a certain degree, if the exterminating mayfly did not appear, the Fortune Gate's relationship with the Buddhist sect, Confucian cultivators, and demonic beast clans would not have eased to such an extent. Maybe the Fortune Gate's disciples were fighting with the Buddhist sect and Confucian demonic beast clans. First Old Master, what about the 3 continents' common people? Seeing that Wang Bianfei did not say anything, Princess Xixia stood up and asked in a low voice. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Xiaohua, and no one knew what she was thinking. Xiaohua's heart was somewhat agitated for no reason. He took a deep breath and said, "Previously, this Xiao thought that we could first go to the 10,000 demon world, and then go from there to the Dawn Rain mainland. Once we got enough spiritual herbs from the Dawn Rain mainland, we could return the same way. This way, we could use the spiritual herbs to exterminate the mayfly. Moreover, this Xiao has the Kunlun Mirror and the Kunlun Wonderland, so it doesn't matter how many spiritual herbs I get. Unfortunately, nothing is perfect. The space passage from the 10,000 demon world to the Dawn Rain mainland is one way. As long as we return to the Dawn Rain mainland, we cannot return to the 10,000 demon world. Of course, there are other space passages from the Dawn Rain mainland that lead to the 10,000 demon world. But the 3 continents do not have the time to wait, and this Xiao also does not have the time to find another space passage. Therefore, even if this Xiao can go to the 10,000 demon world, it does not mean that this Xiao can find a way to exterminate the world-exterminating mayfly. Even so, this Xiao has finally found a way for our Fortune Gate's disciples to escape death. This Xiao goes to the 10,000 demon world, to the Dawn Rain mainland, and you can also live. You don't have to fight with the mayfly anymore." Of course, this Xiao said before that the thing that separates the 3 continents from the Dawn Rain mainland is an immortal array. This Xiao also thought of looking for clues, looking for a flaw to break this immortal array. But thinking about it, this immortal array was set up by the Upper Realm's Almighty. Although there are some subtle flaws in the immortal array, these flaws are enough for even great sages of the demonic race and Taoism's grand ascension stage to escape with their lives. How can our mortal world's methods break this array? First Old Master, you are a little pessimistic. Princess Xixia said worriedly. Xixia, it is not that I am pessimistic, but you have not seen the methods of immortals, you have not seen the power of this immortal array. Xiaohua did not hide anything and said, even someone as strong as Fairy Xingyu, an invincible existence in the 3 continents, is afraid of this immortal array and does not even dare to mention it. Someone as strong as Bei Ming, who is the cousin of the 7-colored sea god Seashell, is far stronger than the great sages of the super great sage temple, but he also fell into the immortal array's flaw, and now he is neither dead nor alive. This kind of immortal array is not something that our mortal world's cultivators can look up to. In particular, the 4 continents are definitely not ordinary places, and the one who set up this immortal array is definitely an immortal venerable or even an immortal king. Even if we ascend to the immortal world, we are just ordinary immortals. How can we compare to such an existence? Don't tell me that we have not ascended yet? If that's the case, Princess Xixia naturally did not think that Xiaohua was exaggerating. She frowned and asked, "Our 3 continents are really in a dead end?" Chapter 47-48. Not necessarily. Xiaohua hesitated for a moment before continuing. Huang Tong thinks that there is only one true world-destroying mayfly. The mayflies we've seen so far are just the larvae of the mother mayfly. Perhaps we can find the mother mayfly and kill it. If the mayfly can no longer reproduce, as long as we kill the larvae, the crisis of the 3 continents will be resolved. The 3 continents, 3 rivers and 4 seas, how big is that? Xia sighed. How can we find the mother mayfly? Don't Confucian cultivators often say that as long as one works hard, an iron pestle can be ground into a needle? It's not impossible to give it a try. Xiaohua's words were filled with sarcasm. However, Princess Xia didn't mind and continued to ask, Sect Master, let me ask again, how big is your Kunlun paradise? Can it hold more common people from the 3 continents? Hearing the word common people, Xiaohua sneered. His heart ached, and the corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. Xia, you know about the Xiao country, right? When Princess Xia saw the sneer on the corner of Xiaohua's mouth and heard Xiaohua's question, she already understood what Xiaohua wanted to say. She grew up in the Immortal Palace since she was a child. She learned the art of kings and read the customs of the people of the hidden Immortal continent. How could she not know the ignorance of the common people? She sighed in her heart and nodded. Of course I know. The last time we left the Xiao country, we asked the lightning Taoist to help us bring the Xiao country's people into the Kunlun paradise. Xiaohua said. But the result? 80% of the people entered the Kunlun paradise, and the other 20% were unwilling to leave. Just now, I told them that the Fortune Gate's disciples will leave the Xiao country, and there will be no one to protect them, but they were still unwilling to leave. I feel that I have done a lot for them, but why don't they believe me? If the Xiao country is like this, then what about the Yu prefecture? The hidden immortal continent? How many of them are willing to listen to me? How many of them are willing to listen to my Dao Gates arrangements? Sect Master can ask the immortal emperors and the Mahavarokana world revered to take action. They are the absolute kings of the hidden immortal continent and the pure land of ultimate bliss. They might not necessarily not have spatial artifacts. Moreover, the mortals of the 2 continents will not disobey them. We can even ask the golden-winged rock and the heaven-defying thunder phoenix to command the demons of the 1,000 demons sacred realm to enter the Kunlun immortal realm. But there is no space passage to the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua shook his head again. Huang Tong's space crack can only allow him and me to pass through. Other than entering my Kunlun immortal realm, the immortal emperor and the Mahavarokana revered Buddha have no chance to escape. Sigh, Sect Master. Princess Xia sighed and said, human nature is hard to fathom. If you're kind, he might be evil. If you're evil, he might be kind instead. Didn't the human race have a saying that goes, kind horses are ridden by people, kind people are bullied by people? However, Elder Sect Master, you are a high and mighty almighty. You must be more broad-minded than them. You must not be discouraged. You must give these common people a way to live. Sai, forget it. Xiaohua waved his hand and said weakly, let's not talk about this for now. I'm just telling you the truth and letting you choose. I want to comprehend the space escape technique with Huang Tong. I won't be leaving for a while. You all should think about it first. Okay, then I'll take my leave. Princess Xia knew that Xiaohua was definitely not saying what he meant. His heart must be very conflicted, so she didn't say anything more. Master, the disciples will also take their leave. Wang Bianfei and the others looked at each other and also bowed and left. When everyone left, the celestial being shouted, Fellow Taoist, our space is almost unlimited. Why don't we take in all the common people? We can take them away together. Absolutely not. Taoist which shook his head. Such a big move, the immortal emperor and the Mahavarokana revered Buddha will definitely know. At that time, we won't be able to leave. Although our space is big, we will only take in people who are fated. I will definitely not take in people who are unwilling to enter the space by force. Xiaohua said coldly, at such a critical moment, it's already not bad that we can protect ourselves. As he spoke, Xiaohua sat cross-legged on the throne of creation and whispered in his heart, Fellow Taoist Huang Tong has returned. There are a lot of space laws and space escape techniques that can be taught. Let's hurry up and cultivate. It might be useful in the future. Good. When the celestial being and the other avatars heard this, they quickly calmed down. On the throne of creation, an inexplicable fluctuation came from Huang Tong's body and passed through the throne of creation to Xiaohua and the other avatars. When this fluctuation had the same rhythm on everyone, all the thrones of creation transformed into 10 different spaces at the same time. These spaces were different in style, but the fluctuation was the same. The 10 spaces slowly rotated around the ring. In the end, they turned into light and shadow. It was impossible to tell which space it was and who was inside the space. After an unknown amount of time, the entire ring suddenly trembled a few times and stopped. The 10 thrones were still the same 10 thrones. However, on the thrones, there were either humans or demons. Each of them was trembling, as if the inexplicable fluctuation was still inside them. Outside the Fortune Palace, a joyful phoenix cry sounded. On one of the thrones, Huang Tong's wings flapped and she immediately escaped from the light of the throne. Similarly, a clear jie cry sounded, splitting the sky. It was almost exactly the same as the phoenix cry in the distance. So it's the first great saint of the Great Sage Hall, the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix is back. Huang Tong's figure rushed out of the Fortune Palace and landed high in the sky. Looking at the black shadow in the distance, he laughed loudly. As Huang Tong's voice fell, several beams of starlight and moonlight fell from the sky. Amidst the starlight and moonlight, the phoenix parasol tree flashed like a pair of wings made of stars and moonlight. It whistled through the air. So you're the 10th master of the Fortune Palace? Feng Wu looked at Huang Tong and an inexplicable feeling arose. A strange, ripple-like distortion flowed rapidly between the two demonic beasts. Feng Wu immediately understood where Huang Tong came from inside. When this saint asked fellow Taoist Xiao about it, fellow Taoist Xiao only smiled and didn't say anything. This saint didn't expect you to have such a deep relationship with this saint. This one is Huang Tong, greetings big brother Feng Wu. This kind of instinctive closeness, this kind of bloodline connection, made Huang Tong feel familiar with Feng Wu. He smiled and said, Chapter 47-49. Huang Tong? Feng Wu. It's indeed a phoenix falling from a parasol tree. Even our names match so well. It's really heaven's will. Feng Wu sighed. Yes. Xiaohua had already flown out with the celestial beings. He looked at Feng Wu and Huang Tong with a smile and said, Back then, I didn't know how to condense a doppelganger and only used the Buddha's Vajra Dharma body to cultivate. But in the end, I actually formed a phoenix Dharma body. How interesting. Feng Wu smiled and said, Yes, if Huang Tong didn't fall in the other world, I probably wouldn't exist. Oh no. Huang Tong shook her head and said, You are you, I am me. It's already been decided by heaven. Feng Wu looked at Huang Tong and said in surprise, Although you're considered a demon, you don't cultivate the power of the stars and moon? Then where did you ascend to? Huang Tong nodded. I'm walking another path of cultivation of the demon race. I use 10,000 souls to build my body and the power of space as my supernatural power. It's different from the cultivation of the stars and moon of the demon race of the 3 continents. As for ascending, I haven't thought about it. Previously, Fairy Xingyu said. Xiaohua interrupted. In the demon realm, there are demon clans who cultivate the power of the stars and the moon, or condense demon cores, or cultivate souls. It seems that there are many different kinds of demon clans. That's good. Feng Wu had already understood. She stretched out her wings and formed a big hand and said, When the time comes, we'll break the starry sky together. It's a deal. Huang Tong wasn't used to transforming into a human form. At this moment, she also stretched out her big hand and touched Feng Wu's big hand. Xiaohua looked behind Feng Wu and asked curiously, Sage Feng, where's Thunderbolt Immortal? Thunderbolt Immortal? Where is he? How would I know? Feng Wu replied in confusion. Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, So Sage Feng wasn't invited by Thunderbolt Immortal? Of course not. Feng Wu replied, I was entrusted by you and sneaked into the depths of the great sage hall. Only after this saint had gone through all the hardships and dangers did this saint realize that the great sage hall was the most mysterious place of the 3 continents. The starry skies within recorded the secrets of the 3 continents for who knows how many years. Of course, the deeper you go into the great sage hall, the more dangerous it is. Even with this saint's ability, I am unable to reach the deepest part of the great sage hall. Who knows what strange things are inside? In that case, Feng Sheng has gained something? At this point, Xiaohua was no longer too interested in Feng Wu's news. It's hard to say. Feng Wu shook his head. I only obtained it by chance. I don't know if it has anything to do with the 4 continents or the Immortal array. Phoenix Sage, please speak, Xiaohua asked. But before Feng Wu could say anything, a thunderous rumble came from where Feng Wu came from. The Thunderbolt Sage arrived with Princess Qingqing and Wuxia. He saw Feng Wu from afar and shouted, Feng Sheng, why are you here? If the North Sea Dragon King hadn't told me, I would have flown to your great sage hall. North Sea Dragon Palace? Xiaohua was taken aback. Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, why are you there? I went to Blackwind Ridge first. From there, I went to the Great Snow Mountain. Then, I found Maitreya Buddha and went to the Earth Fire Wind Lightning Palace near the Great Snow Mountain. From there, I went to the Heavenly Palace's southern gate. The Thunderbolt Sage answered concisely. I didn't even see the southern gate. I had the palace guard report to the Scholar Palace's master that you had urgent matters to discuss with him. It seems. Scholar Palace had just returned to the Lingyun Palace. I didn't see him either. I knew that the Immortal Palace's time was different from the 3 continents, so I hurriedly used the Southern Gate's passage to rush to the North Sea Dragon Palace. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiaohua nodded. Was this your idea? What, is there a problem? The Thunderbolt Sage whispered. This was Qingqing's arrangement. However, it was my idea not to enter the Southern Gate. If there's a problem, I'll beat her up. No. Xiaohua hurriedly advised. You did very well. Hee, that's good. The Thunderbolt Sage was very happy to be praised. He had Princess Qingqing and Yu Xiajing return to the Fortune Gate first. He then looked around and asked, what's going on? It's understandable that Scholar Palace is late, but why is the little monk also late? Namo Maitreya Buddha. Just as he was speaking, a ray of Buddhist light gently flowed across the horizon. When it descended, Namo Maitreya Buddha stepped on a 9th grade Buddhist lotus and appeared from the Buddhist light. Greetings to everyone. Seeing one of the 3 Buddhist lords, although they knew that he had the same origin as them, the venerables did not dare to slight him. They all bowed in return. Namo Maitreya Buddha, the venerable of the world's divine ability is getting more and more powerful. Xiaohua laughed. Even I can't detect the venerable of the world's traces. But the venerable of the world sighed and said, has the Bodhisattva noticed the abnormality of reincarnation? Of course. Xiaohua nodded. At present, these mayflies are just larvae. They don't have souls. All the creatures they devour, be it humans, demonic beasts, or dragons, can't enter reincarnation. That the venerable of the world asked curiously. The Bodhisattva didn't seem to mention it to the Mahavairakana Buddha that day? And do you think the Mahavairakana Buddha will have a solution if I mention it? Xiaohua said meaningfully. Or, do you think he didn't notice it? I don't know if the Mahavairakana Buddha noticed it or not. I just found it when I was passing by the South Sea. The venerable of the world said mercifully, I used Buddhist divine ability but couldn't send them into reincarnation. That's why I was delayed and collected a lot of souls along the way. Bodhisattva, please help. But Xiaohua agreed. The venerable of the world took out the Tree of 7 Wonders. As he waved it, Xiaohua also released the Netherworld Origin Force. The Tree of 7 Wonders actually sent out tens of millions of souls. After collecting the souls, Xiaohua asked again, the venerable of the world, presumably fellow Taoist Thunder, has already told you what I mean. What do you think? What should your Shaolin Long Temple do? Isn't this venerable's idea the same as the Bodhisattva's? The venerable of the world laughed. This venerable is the future Buddha Lord of Buddhism. It's impossible for me to abandon the Buddha Lord and the Bodhisattva of Shaolin Long Temple. It's even more impossible for me to abandon the Bodhisattva of the Pure Land world and care for myself. Even if this venerable dies, I will die with all living beings. Understood? Xiaohua nodded. The venerable of the world's idea wasn't out of his expectations at all. This sage doesn't have many children, and the demonic beasts under my command aren't many either. Feng Wu laughed. If fellow Taoist leaves, this sage will also take them away. Chapter 4750. The celestial being chuckled. Phoenix Sage probably doesn't know that the black-armored Pentaceratops and the nether demonic dragon spider have been killed by fellow Taoist Shao, right? Of course I know. Phoenix Wu replied. Fu Jiwen was the first to inform the Great Sage Hall. However, the demon domain of the two great sages has been taken over by the golden-winged Great Peng and the other three great sages. This sage has been in the depths of the Great Sage Hall all this time and did not pay attention to this matter. However, if nothing unexpected happens, the Thousand Demons' sacred realm will definitely fall into chaos. Fellow Taoist Shao, you don't have to do this. Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, a pillar of overwhelming qi exploded high in the sky. Earth, fire, wind, and lightning faintly appeared. Then, the Literature Palace Master's figure turned into a huge distorted light projection and shot down from the sky. The moment the Literature Palace Master saw Huang Tong, he immediately understood. He clapped his hands and laughed. Today, the Fortune Gate Sect Master and the 10 Old Masters have gathered. Congratulations! Greetings, Literature Palace Master. Huang Tong saw that all his clones had returned. Every time he saw one of them, his heart would tremble. This was something he had never experienced in the hundreds of thousands of years in the mystic origin space. He couldn't help but feel his heart wet as he bowed. Let's go. Xiaohua looked at the changes in the sky after Wen Chu landed and said with a smile, a storm is coming. We will return to the Fortune Dao Palace to collect our clothes. The clones laughed and turned into light projections as they rushed into the Fortune Dao Palace. After the clones sat down, Xiaohua quickly recounted how he killed the two great sages of the Great Sage Hall and the Grand Mist Ancestor. He then looked at Wen Chu and said, it seems like Immortal Emperor Go Chen's 9 prefectures grand formation didn't succeed. What about the 9 prefectures cauldrons? Wen Chu slapped the door and the 9 prefectures cauldrons flew out and landed in front of Xiaohua. He said, the 9 prefectures grand formation is definitely not something a mortal world cultivator can set up. Even though Immortal Emperor Go Chen was commanding and the Supreme Heavenly Mirror was the name, the 9 of us still couldn't work together. Just a slight difference caused the complete collapse of the 9 provinces' grand formation. Xiaohua opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of innate true qi. The 9 continents cauldrons entered his body and he said, Old Gao Chen really has a good idea. If I can't set up the 9 continents' great array, I will never be able to marry Princess Xixia. Now, even if I can't marry her, I will take away this Jiuzhou cauldron. We can't let Gao Chen's evil plan succeed. Could it be that he's really in a desperate situation? Wen Chu asked in a low voice, unwilling to give up. Yeah. Xiaohua replied, before you came back, I already told the disciples about this matter and let them make a decision. If they are willing, I will bring the entire Fortune Gate to the 10,000 Demon World or Dawn Rain Mainland. Today, I invited all of you here to discuss this matter and see what you think. Fellow Taoist Shao, don't be in such a hurry. Feng Wu hurriedly said, this sage hasn't finished speaking yet. Oh, right, Sage Feng, please continue. Xiaohua came back to his senses and said embarrassedly, this Shao was a little disheartened and forgot about this matter. Feng Wu waved his hand and took out a flat white bone. This white bone was dotted with specks of stars and moonlight. It looked very ancient. Everyone, please take a look. Feng Wu said and spat out a beam of moonlight onto the white bone. Shwa! The white bone immediately transformed into a picture of the 4 great continents. On this picture, there was a line of words for the location of the Western Sea. These words were also very strange. They weren't written in a language, but in the Dawn Rain mainland's Taoist language, the Buddhist sect's Sanskrit, and the demonic beast race's demonic language. Fortunately, Xiaohua was enlightened by the Shuo Wen Jie, so he could understand this line of words with just a glance. It was a couplet, 4 poems of elegance, 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man. Xiaohua was puzzled. He looked at Wen Chu, and Wen Chu was also puzzled. Wen Chu said, "We Confucian cultivators have a very famous couplet, 3 lights, sun, moon, and stars, for poems of elegance. What does this couplet mean?" Feng Wu shrugged and said with a bitter smile, "This saint also doesn't know. This saint only saw the picture of the 4 great continents and saw that the poem separated the Dawn Rain mainland from the 3 continents. I felt that it might be related to the Immortal formation, so I hurried here. If it's useless, this saint will follow fellow Taoist Xiao back to the Dawn Rain mainland. This saint has nothing to worry about, so I can go anywhere." When Chu frowned, looked at Xiaohua, and said, "This couplet is different from the couplet that Confucian cultivators are familiar with. It's the 3 talents, heaven, and man. Moreover, if it's a normal couplet, the 3 lights, sun, moon, and star should be removed and the 3 talents, heaven, earth, and man should be placed first. After all, Confucian cultivators take heaven, earth, king, family, and teacher as their leader. It's impossible to put heaven, earth, and man behind the poems of elegance." Boom! Wen Chu's words struck Xiaohua like a lightning tribulation. Xiaohua's body trembled as he flew up from the throne of creation and exclaimed, "Everyone! I seem to know something. What does fellow Taoist know? How come we don't know?" Wen Chu and the others were puzzled. Xiaohua didn't answer. Instead, he pinched the space between his eyebrows with his thumb and index finger. He narrowed his eyes and pondered for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Then, he opened his eyes and said with ecstasy, "Everyone, I know how to break the formation." Buddha Maitreya was most worried about the creatures of the 3 continents and couldn't help but ask, "How to break the formation? Tan Yu, quickly say it." "Impossible," Celestial shouted. "We don't know. How can you know?" "It's very simple," Xiaohua said with a smile, "because this matter happened in the Dawn Rain mainland before you all appeared." "Fellow Taoist Xiao, quickly say it." Huang Tong also said happily, "At that time, I had some impression. I don't know if I can remember it." "No, you might not know." Xiaohua wasn't in a hurry to speak. Instead, he turned to ask Buddha Maitreya. When Chu and Taoist Master Yun said, "Do you all still remember how this Xiao found the formation core of the Great World Extermination War on the Great Wasteland mainland?" "Fellow Taoist, didn't you say that back then on the Dawn Rain mainland, there was a Buddha with a devil heart that attracted your attention? Only then did you think that the formation core of the Great World Extermination formation in the sky was actually on the ground?" Celestial also asked curiously, "What does this have to do with the Immortal formation? Could it be that the formation core of the Immortal formation is also on the ground?" "That's right." Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, "The formation core of the Immortal formation is not only on the ground, but also within the ink cloud Black Forest. It's on the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks of the Meng country's Taiching sect." Heaven, earth, and mortal peaks? Isn't it just the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks? Wen Chu suddenly realized. Chapter 4751. Xiaohua nodded and said, "That's right, the 3 talents means the 3 formations. The Immortal formation is the overlapping of the Buddhist sect's Great Meru formation, the Tao sect's 5 elements annihilation formation, and the Demon clan's Song of Time formation. Doesn't it correspond to the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak, and Human Peak? Didn't Hanju mention it before? The Taiching sect holds an Immortal Ascension assembly every 60 years. They invite some golden core disciples from the country of Shi, the country of Lian, and the country of Meng to the Taiching sect to learn from each other. While exchanging experiences, they fly and climb from the Heaven Peak, Earth Peak, and Human Peak to the 9th heaven. Who can climb the highest? Who will be the Immortal Ascension Assembly's Immortal Ascension Assembly? As for Hanju himself, he used the Buddhist sect's method to rush to the so-called 9th heaven on the Heaven Peak. Presumably, the heaven peak is the eye of the Buddhist formation. Because he used the Buddhist sex method, he wasn't blocked by the Buddhist formation and was sent to the ink cloud black forest. Isn't this very similar to the Great Firmament Formation in the primitive continent? If nothing goes wrong, the Earth Peak and Human Peak are the eye of the Tao Sex Formation and the Demon Clans Formation. The so-called Immortal Ascension Assembly is actually attacking the Immortal Formation that separates the four great continents. Xiao Hua's inconceivable idea sounded so reasonable in everyone's ears. After all, the Great Firmament Formation in the primitive continent was a clear proof. Since the heavenly demon of the transformation heaven could use the heaven peak to set up such a formation that couldn't be found, then the celestial venerables and immortal kings of the immortal world would also use the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak to set up an immortal formation that separates the four great continents. Then, how do we break the formation? The Thunderbolt Immortal asked curiously. The demon venerable had devoured the devil formation's devil spirit. He smiled and said, "It's very easy to break the formation. The simple and crude method is to topple the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak of the Taiching sect." Back in the primitive continent, when Di Ting used the Panga axe to topple the heaven peak, didn't the Great Firmament Formation leak? Then, it began to destroy the world. If we topple the heaven peak, earth peak, and human peak, won't the immortal formation begin to leak? Then, the true chi of the Dawn continent can enter the three continents? I'm afraid it's not that simple. Now that Xiao Hua's thoughts were clear, all his thoughts were immediately clear. He narrowed his eyes and said, since there are three peaks, heaven, earth, and man, then the corresponding array eyes of these three peaks must have the effect of relying on each other for defense. If these three peaks are to be pushed down, they must be pushed down at the same time, just like laying down the 9 regions great array. But, I only have the strength of one strike of Pangu axe. Reverend Yun said with a wry smile. So, I'll need both fellow Taoists and I to attack at the same time. Little brother's demonic blade counts as one. Demon Sovereign sure anxiously said. My heaven and earth pagoda. When Chu hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm afraid the heaven and earth pagoda won't do. That's easy. Xiao Hua laughed. This Xiao's 5 elements wishful heavenly staff only lacks 2 magnets. This Xiao has long known that there is a magnetism in the dark world. And now I also know that there is a magnetism in the 10,000 demon realm. If I collect these 2 magnets, won't I be able to sacrificial refine the real 5 elements wishful heavenly staff? That is an ancient ferocious weapon. Although I didn't succeed in refining it when I was in the ruins, just by collecting it, I was able to cause a strange phenomenon. If I succeed in refining it, I'm afraid it won't be a problem to push down a mountain. At this time, Maitreya Buddha of the world, who had been silent all this time, laughed and said, Namo Maitreya Buddha, the Tao sect, Buddhism sect, and Demon Clan have 30% of the immortal array. Why don't you use my tree of 7 wonders instead of the demonic blade? Isn't this neglecting the essentials? Oh, the tree of 7 wonders of the world has such an effect? Xiao Hua did not believe it. Maitreya Buddha of the world said with a smile, the power of faith and the power of reincarnation can transform into all kinds of existences. The power of mountains is naturally nothing difficult. Good. Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, in that case, the heavenly peak will be handed over to the world. You are proficient in the Dharma of Buddhism, and you have the sacred weapon of Buddhism sect. You are the best person to crack the Buddhist array. After saying that, Xiao Hua looked at Reverend Yun and said, Fellow Taoist Yun, you are a member of the Dragon Clan, and you have the dragon weapon of the Dragon God. You are the best person to crack the demon array. As for the Tao Sex array, leave it to I. What about me? Reverend Thunderbolt jumped to his feet and said, I'm also a Mahayana cultivator of Tao sect. I can also use the heavenly peak to push down the earth peak. Xiao Hua smiled and said, Fellow Taoist Thunderbolt, I will remember your kindness. In fact, the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man are just a speculation. Since it is an immortal array, it must not be that simple. It is impossible to break the immortal array by just pushing down the 3 peaks. I'll discuss this matter in detail when I return to Taiching sect. Upon hearing this, Wen Chu clapped his hands and said, "Every time we reach the end of the road, there is always a glimmer of hope." Who would have thought that an unavoidable calamity would actually reveal a glimmer of hope at this moment? The fairness of the heavenly Tao is also here. Yes, this is the heavenly Tao. Xiaohua smiled. The sunshine of hope had blown away the gloom in his heart, and his heart was also bright. Bodhisattva. Seeing Xiaohua's joy, Maitreya Buddha of the world said with a smile, "There is no Bodhi tree, nor is there a mirror. The nature of Buddha is always pure, and there is no dust." Namo Maitreya Buddha. Xiaohua put his palms together and bowed. "Thank you for your reminder, Buddha of the world. However, I am willing to sacrifice my Tao heart for the billions of living beings in the 3 continents." Namo Bodhisattva, the merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Maitreya Buddha of the world recited the name of Bodhisattva, which was rare for him. "Even I can't match Bodhisattva's compassion." Reverend Yun laughed and said, "Fellow Taoist, you were forcing your disciples to make a choice just now, but you didn't know that your heart was also bleeding. Now that you have good news, shouldn't you tell your disciples about it?" "All right." Xiaohua nodded. "The situation has changed, and they will have more choices. Of course, I can't guarantee that the Great Holy Hall's clue is the key to breaking the formation. Moreover, I can't be sure that I can break the formation. All of this is still unknown, and they still need to make a choice." Xiaohua sent a voice transmission to Wang Bianfei and the other personal disciples. Xiaohua was a little surprised when Lu Yi, Jiang Hong, Fu Jiwen, and the others entered the hall. All of them bowed respectfully to the Fortune Gate's 10 masters sitting on the fortune throne, congratulating the Fortune Gate's masters. Seeing this, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Since my Fortune Gate's masters are here, how can this disciple not be here?" As he spoke, he took out the Kunlun mirror and sent out Yuan Ya, who had been refining the Devil Spear on the Shenhua continent. Without waiting for Xiaohua to say anything, Lu Yi warmly pulled Yuan Ya aside and explained the ins and outs of the matter. Yuan Ya was overjoyed when he heard this, and he kowtowed to the 10 masters again. Although it was Huang Tong's first time meeting Yuan Ya, he liked Yuan Ya's unruly nature. Huang Tong couldn't help but send a voice transmission to Xiaohua, wanting to accept Yuan Ya as his disciple. Chapter 4752. He, my disciple is your disciple, there is no need to distinguish between them. Xiaohua said in his heart. You can give me pointers if you want, there is no need for a master and disciple relationship. Huang Tong nodded, indicating that she understood. Xiaohua looked at Lu Yi and Fu Jiwen again. Have you dealt with the Sky-Bearing Palace's matters? Yes, master. Lu Yi hurriedly answered. The Sky-Bearing Palace did not have many disciples in the West Sea. Other than a few loyal disciples and a few that master must kill, the rest have pledged allegiance to my Fortune Gate. This disciple won without much effort. Fu Jiwen also said, disciple situation is similar to Lu Yi's. My Fortune Gate is like the sun in the sky, the leader of the Tao world. When disciple told them about the Grand Mist ancestor's death, the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples scattered like monkeys. Most of them joined my Fortune Gate, and only a few chose to leave. Fu Jiwen then looked at Lu Yi, and the two of them exchanged a glance. Fu Jiwen added, other than that, disciple and Lu Yi did not find any trace of the Grand Mist ancestor's primordial spirit. At the same time, we sent disciples to follow the Sky-Bearing Palace's disciples who left, but until now, there has been no news. Good. Xiaohua nodded and ordered, since you want to kill the Grand Mist ancestor, don't leave any traces behind. The Grand Mist ancestor is only left with a wisp of remnant soul, and he can't possess ordinary cultivators. I'm afraid that he might have left a clone somewhere. Of course, it has only been a few hundred years since he escaped, so it's not possible for him to cultivate a clone. He might have other plans. In short, I'll leave this matter to you. Think of a way to kill him. Yes, disciple understands. Lu Yi and Fu Jiwen bowed respectfully. Also, Xiaohua looked at Jiang Hong and asked, what's the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace? Jianghu reported the situation in the West Sea Dragon Palace to Xiaohua. Under Jianghu's iron fist and the dragon envoy's connivance, Jianghu had basically controlled the West Sea Dragon Palace, and the East Sea Dragon Palace's first prince and West Sea Dragon Palace's first prince were mere figureheads. However, Jianghu had received Lu Yi's message and knew that the Fortune Gate's disciples had another way out, so she hurried back to the Fortune Gate to wait for Xiaohua's orders. "Since you've come back, you must have made your choice." Xiaohua looked at Jianghu and Lu Yi meaningfully. "Yes, the disciples have already made some preliminary considerations." Fu Jiwen was the closest to Xiaohua, so he took the initiative to speak first. However, he only spoke first. Unfortunately, Xiaohua did not give him the chance and waved his hand and said, "You all don't need to talk about your plans for the time being. This old man has good news for you." Fu Jiwen and the others were greatly surprised and asked, "Is there no need for us to choose? Making a choice is difficult, just like when I faced the six-eared macaque." Xiaohua says with a smile, "However, there are countless choices in life, and every choice determines the path you want to take. Choice is necessary. How to make a choice without regrets is the most important." Speaking of this, Xiaohua talked about the matter of Daybreak Continent's heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, and finally said, "In other words, at this point, the three continents' doomsday calamity has new hope again. However, this hope is only a glimmer of hope. I can't guarantee that this glimmer of hope will illuminate all four continents. Similarly, I can't guarantee that I will be able to break the immortal formation. Your previous choice may change now." "Yes, disciple understands. I will discuss it again later." Fu Jiwen nods, glances at Lu Yi and the others, and answers in unison. "Master." Yuanya hears and says curiously, "Isn't Dai from the 10,000 demon realm? Why didn't you tell her that you were going to the 10,000 demon realm?" "What do you think?" Xiaohua asks with interest. "Disciple doesn't know." Yuanya shakes his head, "But disciple is afraid that master will forget Dai, so I reminded you." Xiaohua looks at Yuanya, but does not open his mouth to explain. When Xiaohua knows that he can go to Daybreak Continent through the 10,000 demon realm, he has already considered how to pass through the 10,000 demon realm. He knows that there are two candidates in the 10,000 demon realm. One is the little white dragon, the other is naturally Dai. Facing these two demon clans, Xiaohua's choice is very clear. He first eliminates Dai. The reason is very simple, because of the 10,000 demon realm empress. The 10,000 demon realm empress is suppressed in Daybreak Continent. Although the demon clan suppressing her is also from the 10,000 demon realm, it is undeniable that Wolf Clan Dongshan Yi must have received help from other cultivators in Daybreak Continent. In particular, Dai was also humiliated by human cultivators in Sky Patrol City. Dai returns to the 10,000 demon realm and tells the Demon King about the Empress. The Demon King will definitely try his best to go to Daybreak Continent. Xiaohua does not dare to think about what will happen at that time. Realm war? Therefore, Xiaohua still wanted to rely on his own strength to rescue the Empress of the 10,000 demon realm and help her capture Dongshan Yi of the Wolf Clan. This could also be considered as settling the karma of the 10,000 demon realm's Empress Xianwan in the Dawn Rain continent. However, when Xiaohua released Yuanya, he already had some ideas. Because he returned to Daybreak Continent this time to save the three continents, he may not have the time to care about the grudges of the 10,000 demon realm Empress. Although he knows that the 10,000 demon realm Empress Xianwan has been very kind to him, compared to the life and death of hundreds of millions of creatures in the three continents, Xiaohua can only put this kindness behind. Xiaohua even has a final plan. If he really can't topple the three peaks and break the immortal array, he can only rely on Dai, or Xianwan to return to the 10,000 demon realm. At that time, only Xiaohua can return the favor to Xianwan and let her have no grudges against Daybreak Continent. Only then can he smoothly return to the three continents from the 10,000 demon realm. Master already has some thoughts. Xiaohua smiled. There is no need to tell Dai now. Jianghu. Disciple is here. Jianghu immediately understood Xiao Hua's meaning and hurriedly bowed in agreement. Pass the order to disciple, Xiao Hua ordered, but changed his words in a moment. No, you personally go and invite Xiao Bai to the Fortune Dao Palace. When Jianghu heard this, her expression was a little gloomy, and she bowed. Disciple understands, disciple will go now. Xiao Hua said again, before you have a choice, do your best to find traces of the Queen Mayfly in the 4 seas. If there is anything strange, don't let it go. Master, rest assured. Lu Yi bowed. Disciple received Senior Brother Fu's message and has already started. Good. Xiao Hua nodded with a smile. At this time, Huang Tong asked in her heart, fellow Taoist Xiao, our disciples. Why don't we divide them according to seniority? Fu Jiwen just called Lu Yi Senior Brother Lu, and now Lu Yi is calling Fu Jiwen Senior Brother Fu. When they address each other, it seems like they are trying to avoid this question. Chapter 4753. Xiao Hua came back to his senses. He pondered for a moment and said to Lu Yi and the others, Master remembered that you all don't need to be ranked according to seniority for the time being. Before Master ascends, we will decide the senior brothers' positions. Now that our Fortune Gate's 10 masters are all here, you all should arrange your seats. Xiao Hua's words startled all the disciples. After all, they had accompanied Xiao Hua for tens of thousands of years. Today, they all understood the reason behind Xiao Hua's words. Master! All the disciples knelt down and kowtowed. Tears flowed from their eyes. Sooner or later, we will have to leave. Xiao Hua's eyes were also wet. He flicked his sleeves and helped everyone up. Master is just greeting you all in advance. Moreover, Master doesn't have much time left. I still want to use the remaining time to resolve the crisis of the 3 continents. Tai, Master. Fu Jiwen sighed and kowtowed. As far as Disciple knows, Disciple didn't know before. Now that Disciple's cultivation is high and Disciple has met more Confucian cultivators, Disciple knows that after reaching the peak of 9th grade essence force, many Confucian cultivators will close their doors and refuse guests. They will rely on the will of the heavens to prepare for the tribulation. How about you? Even now, you are still wholeheartedly working for the survival of the billions of existences in the 3 continents. Take a look at the sovereigns, Immortal Emperor Go Qin, Virokana Revered Venerable, what are they doing? Not to mention, you are not a cultivator of the 3 continents. Don't think of Master as too noble. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, it is impossible to say that I didn't make any preparations. Moreover, Master has more confidence than others. That is why I have the spare time to do these things. As for whether Master is a cultivator of the 3 continents, it doesn't matter. Because this space is the 4 great continents, I am a cultivator of the 4 great continents. Finally, Xiao Hua smiled at everyone and said, Master still has to discuss with your martial uncles how to break the seal. You all can go and do your own things. Yes, Master. Lu Yi and the other disciples didn't dare to delay and respectfully bowed and left. After the disciples left, Wen Chu said, Master Shaolei, because of the evil physique, the evil sovereign couldn't control the cauldrons and couldn't set up the 9 provinces grand formation. Now, with fellow immortal Huang Tong, this formation can be set up, right? Xiao Hua was somewhat hesitant. After a moment, he said, the 9 regions great array is very important to the hidden immortal continent, but compared to the immortal array, it is much lighter. Moreover, if the great array of the 9 states was set up, the space passage from the 1,000 demons' sacred realm to the 10,000 demons' realm would be cut off. Also, I and Huang Tong have to comprehend the space law and the space escape technique. I'm afraid we don't have time to comprehend the secret techniques of the Confucian cultivators. Huang Tong heard this and asked Wen Chu about the array. She thought for a moment and said, let me see the secret technique of the celestial palace. After Xiao Hua took out the jade eye, Huang Tong looked at it and smiled. Taoist Xiao, I think we should first try to understand the heart-heart secret technique of the celestial palace. You and I are one, so it is easy to understand this technique. With this technique, we can share our understanding with all of you. Wanna sweat? Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You and I are one. We are born to share our understanding. Why bother? Hee Taoist Xiao, you should try it first. Huang Tong smiled and said mysteriously. After Xiao Hua activated the secret technique that he had already comprehended, a moment later, a trace of understanding appeared on Xiao Hua's face. He nodded and said, I understand. The secret technique of the heavenly court is a kind of skill, and the sharing of our understanding is a kind of foundation. With this secret technique, not only can our minds be expanded, but it can also be closely integrated. In this mind, we can speed up the sharing of our understanding. It can be regarded as adding wings to a tiger. Yes, the space escape technique of the Shenyuan space is unique. It is not comparable to the 4 great continents. I can take advantage of this time to share this space escape technique with all of you. Huang Tong smiled and said, and Feng Wu can also share his understanding of the Star Moon Palace with I. Good. Xiao Hua clapped and praised. Since that is the case, let us quickly start cultivating. As Xiao Hua activated the Throne of Fortune, the 10 thrones once again roared and linked together in the void, forming a connected ring of light. Another 10 days later, outside the Yuanxi Reef Plain, a white dragon descended from the sky. It was Xiao Bai, who had received Xiao Hua's order and had flown back from his training. Before Xiao Bai could land, a 9-colored rainbow shot out from the Fortune Taoist Palace, wrapped around Xiao Bai's body, and pulled him into the Fortune Taoist Palace. Little White Dragon felt as if his body was being pulled by a vast and invincible force. Light flashed in front of his eyes, and when he saw the 10 supreme cultivators sitting on the 10 fortune thrones on the high platform, a sense of reverence rose in his heart. He bowed respectfully and said, Xiao Bai greets the Fortune Gate's masters. Xiao Bai, get up. There is no need to be polite. Xiao Hua waved his hand and helped Xiao Bai up. He smiled and said, there are some friends you are familiar with and some you are not. Let me introduce them to you. Xiao Bai was the closest to Taoist Yun, Taoist Witch, and Xiao Hua. However, when facing Feng Wu, Archdevil Shi, and Huang Tong, an inexplicable fear involuntarily rose in his heart. He obediently greeted the 9 masters one by one before standing below the high platform again. Xiao Bai. Xiao Hua glanced at the somewhat reserved Xiao Bai and said, I called you here today to tell you that I have found a way to go to the 10,000 demon realm. Really? Xiao Bai was overjoyed when he heard this. He shouted, you found a spatial passage? If so, then can we return to the Dawn Rain continent? That should be the case. Xiao Hua nodded, but I am not very confident. Moreover, this spatial passage is temporary, so I cannot bring many people over. I understand. Xiao Bai nodded. I will enter the Kunlun paradise. Oh, if possible, I want to bring my... bring them along. Xiao Hua was speechless when he heard this. He said faintly, I called you here today to ask about the situation of the 10,000 demon realm. I want you to be prepared to go with me and find the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiao Bai shrugged and said innocently, yes, big brother, I am also willing to go with you to the 10,000 demon realm. I am also willing to accompany you to find the spatial passage. I am even more willing to accompany you to the Dawn Rain continent. However, now that the world-destroying mayfly has caused a disaster, the 3 continents are about to be destroyed. Even the old ancestor is a little abnormal. Others may not know, but how can I not know? Now that I have the opportunity, even if I don't care about myself, I can't not care about them. Besides, Big Brother's Kunlun paradise is huge. It doesn't matter whether they are there or not, right? Chapter 4754. You've defeated me. Xiao Hua laughed. You're right, the emperor doesn't send hungry soldiers. If you want to work for me, how can I not give you benefits? That's good, that's good. Little White Dragon's heart was finally at ease. Then he asked, what does Big Brother want to know about the 10,000 demon realm? Don't worry. Xiao Hua thought of something again. His eyes turned, and he said in a low voice, I remember that when I talked to the 7-colored sea god Shell about going to the outer realm, she said that if we found the realm passage, she would go with us. Do you think she will enter the Kunlun immortal realm? Little White Dragon hesitated and replied, Big Brother, I don't know. After all, once she enters your Kunlun wonderland, Her life is in your hands. I believe Big Brother, Bibbo and the others also believe Big Brother, but whether the old ancestor believes, I really don't know. Well, when you go back and pack up, ask her. Xiaohua smiled cutely. If she wants, she can take Bei Ming with her to the 10,000 demon realm. Little White Dragon knew what Xiaohua was thinking. He smiled bitterly. Once Big Brother mentioned Minghua, even if the old ancestor doesn't want to go, she has to go. Big Brother has pulled another powerful helper. How could Xiaohua admit it? He said disdainfully. I'm afraid she will turn against me when she goes to the 10,000 demon realm. Hee, it turns out that Little Brother misunderstood Big Brother. Little White Dragon laughed. I thought Big Brother wanted to move the fortune gate to the 10,000 demon realm. You want the old ancestor to be your vanguard. I want to. Xiaohua's face showed bitterness and pride. He said, but now I don't know if my disciples are willing to move to the 10,000 demon realm. How is that possible? They don't want to go to the 10,000 demon realm? Then where do they want to go? Dawn Rain Continent? Little White Dragon was a little puzzled, but looking at Xiaohua's expression, he suddenly realized and said in surprise, I understand, Big Brother, do they not want to go? They want to fight the world-destroying ephemera in the West Sea? It's not clear now, but I'm afraid so. Xiaohua nodded. When they didn't know that the immortal array could be broken, they were a little hesitant. Now that they know that I've found a way to break the formation, I think they won't hesitate anymore. Big Brother. Little White Dragon smiled bitterly. You humans have a saying that goes, one is marked by the company one keeps. I really don't know what to say. You are so merciful, and your disciple is also so merciful. If others don't know the truth, they would think that your disciples are crazy. They still have a long way to go, and they will make their own choices in the future. Although I don't know if their choice today is true or not, I am already very pleased. Xiaohua said proudly, let's not talk about this anymore. Tell me about the situation in the 10,000 demon realm. The 10,000 demon realm. Little White Dragon pondered for a moment and said, it's a huge continent with mountains, water, and seas. Speaking of this, Little White Dragon suddenly remembered something and said curiously, Big Brother, I remember that I wrote all the things about the 10,000 demon realm in the dragon shell and handed it to you. Why are you suddenly asking me? Teach, you still have the nerve to talk about what you gave me. Xiaohua's face was full of disdain as he replied, in addition to telling me that the 10,000 demon realm is huge, there are many demon races, mountains, water, and seas. Oh, and that you grew up in a place called the Gale Abyss. There are many swamps near the Gale Abyss, and then, how did you meet Minghua? And then. Speaking of this, Xiaohua suddenly stopped, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Humph, I understand. That old shell. After all, she didn't believe me, nor did she believe you. She was afraid that there was something in your memory that would harm Bei Ming, or expose Bei Ming's secret. She didn't completely unlock your seal. Little White Dragon listened, let out a long sigh, and said, old ancestor was probably afraid of being hunted by the Sea Clan, so she didn't do anything. Forget it. Xiaohua thought for a moment, and waved his hand. I underestimated Old Shell and put all my hopes on you. Of course, Old Shell also has a conscience and unlocked some of your seals. At least let me know that there is a metal and wood mountain in the 10,000 demon realm. Go, Little White, go and tell Old Shell that if she wants to follow me to the 10,000 demon realm, find the place where Bei Ming used to live, and escape from the world-exterminating ephemera, she must obediently unseal you completely. Yes, Big Brother. Little White Dragon said embarrassedly, Little Brother didn't help you, I'm really sorry. Why are you saying this to Big Brother? Xiaohua replied, go back and pack up, then come to the Yuan Shi Reef Plain. When Big Brother sets off, I will bring you all along. Thank you, Big Brother. Little White Dragon said, bowed, and left the Zhaohua Palace. Damn old shell. Do you think I can only rely on you to get information about the 10,000 demon realm? Xiaohua gritted his teeth and cursed. He knew in his heart that if he wanted to get information about the 10,000 demon realm, he would have to ask Old Shell to unseal Little White Dragon. No matter what, Old Shell would definitely put forward other conditions, and even use this matter to threaten him. Of course, Xiaohua could also ask for the 7-colored sea god shell's descendants, but these descendants were also little white dragon's descendants, and Xiaohua would not be ashamed to do so. Xiaohua thought about it and then sighed. Forget it, old shell, you want me to beg you, you are really thinking too much. I don't need you. While speaking, Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and sent Dai out of Shenhua continent. Seeing Yuanya leave Shenhua continent and go back, Dai thought that she would be out soon, but she did not expect that she would wait for so long. Today, being sent out by Xiaohua, she was not particularly surprised, and her expression was calm. However, when she saw the 10 fortune gate masters sitting on the fortune thrones in the void above the high platform, each of them had a different aura, and each of them had a mysterious aura, her heart could not help but tighten, and she hurriedly bowed and said, Dai greets the seniors. Dai, get up. When Xiaohua spoke, his throne abruptly expanded. His figure also covered a large area of the void like a round sun, and the other 9 old masters became brilliant stars that adorned the void behind him. Yes, Taoist Xiao. Dai did not understand the situation and did not dare to speak carelessly. She only greeted Xiaohua as Taoist Xiao and immediately got up. Give it a reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4755. Seeing the shock on Dai's face and the trace of panic in her eyes, Xiaohua understood that his and the others might have given her a great shock, so he slowly opened his mouth and said, Today, this old man called you out because I have something to discuss with you. Dai hurriedly bowed and said, Taoist master can tell me anything, there is nothing to discuss, this junior will listen to your orders. Good. Xiaohua nodded. When we were in the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm, this old man had already told you that this is one of the 3 continents, a different realm from the Dawn Rain continent and the 10,000 Demons realm. Now, this realm has encountered a calamity. As for the specific situation, this old man will let Yuanya tell you later. Now, this Xiao has found a way to go to the 10,000 Demons realm, and then return to the Dawn Rain continent through the 10,000 Demons realm, so I hope you can tell this old man the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm. In addition, if you know the space channel from the 10,000 Demons realm to the Dawn Rain continent, you can also tell this old man. Really want to return to the 10,000 Demons realm? Dai was really surprised and happy, her face was full of disbelief. However, in a moment, Dai realized that it was inappropriate and quickly bowed. This junior has been rude, please forgive me. It's okay. Xiaohua smiled. Anyone who knows that they can return to their hometown will be excited. This old man is very understanding. However, the situation of the 3 continents is very urgent now. This old man needs your help. Yes, this junior knows. Dai nodded like a chicken pecking rice and said, However, this junior went to the Dawn Rain continent with the Empress last time, it was an accident. The Empress didn't seem to know the space channel to the Dawn Rain continent, but when we were traveling, we were suddenly involved in a space storm and fell into the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua was inevitably a little disappointed, but he also knew that Dai would not lie to him. So he asked again, If so, can you roughly explain the situation of the 10,000 Demons realm? 10,000 Demons realm? Hearing Xiaohua ask about the 10,000 Demons realm, Dai's face unconsciously showed embarrassment. She smiled and said, Taoist Master Xiao, this junior. When Xiaohua saw Dai like this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When he first saw Dai, she was just a cute child. How could she know the situation of the 10,000 Demon realm? Sure enough, Dai continued, Junior grew up in the Heavenly Fortune Palace and has never left the Sky Rain realm. When the Empress married the Demon King Sa, Junior and these sisters accompanied us to live in the Qin School Palace. The Qin School Palace is in the Zhangyuan realm and is not suitable for the life of Tian clan, so Junior rarely goes out. This junior is not particularly familiar with the 10,000 Demon realm. It's even worse than the Dawn Rain continent. It's okay, Xiaohua said with a smile. Tell me what you know. For example, were the Sky Rain realm and the Zhangyuan realm just some realms? Is the celestial race the ancient celestial race? Seeing that Xiao Hua's expression did not show any displeasure or disappointment, the pressure in Dai Er's heart suddenly decreased, but she still carefully said, "Let Jinren know that the 10,000 demon realm is not like the human race in the Dawn Rain continent, where the country is the boundary, but the boundary is the country. Junior is not sure how many realms there are in the 10,000 demon realm, but Junior knows that my Heavenly Feather clan is in the Sky Rain realm and the Heavenly Eagle clan is in the Sky Rending realm. As for the others, this Junior's memory is already fuzzy. The Heavenly Feather clan and the Heavenly Eagle clan live at the top of the sky, so they are called the Celestial Race. Junior does not know if they are the Celestial Race that Senior mentioned. Because the Celestial Race is above the 10,000 demon realm, they are also called the Higher Race. In addition to the Higher Race, there are also the Water Race and the Lower Race. The Lower Race lives on the ground. For example, the East Mountain E who sneak attacked the Empress. The Wolf Race killed the Lower Race, and the Lizard Race, Leopard Race, and so on. The Water Race is naturally the Water Race that lives in the rivers and lakes. The Shell Race and the Fish Race are all water races. In addition to the Higher Race, Lower Race, and Water Race, there are also the Spirit Race and the Origin Race. Junior is not particularly clear. However, Junior knows that Demon King Mo-Sa is from the Origin Race. This Origin Race seems to be the most mysterious race in the 10,000 demon realm. According to legend, it is the oldest race that existed after the formation of the 10,000 demon realm. Then Dai said some things that she could still remember. Unfortunately, she was young at that time and had passed through the heaven prison. Based on the time gap, she had not experienced the 10,000 demon realm at all. Her words, other than giving Xiao Hua a rough understanding of the 10,000 demon realm, did not have much use for him to understand the 10,000 demon realm. After Dai finished, Xiao Hua pondered for a moment and asked in a low voice, "Dai, this old man is not inquiring about the secrets of the Empress. Tell me, the Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent to experience the world? Or is there another purpose?" Dai was really embarrassed. She thought for a moment and replied, "The Empress came to the Dawn Rain continent, naturally to experience the world. However, she is indeed looking for a great sage who is still missing in the 10,000 demon realm." A great sage in the 10,000 demon realm? Xiao Hua was stunned and asked curiously, "The 10,000 demon realm also has a great sage?" Dai nodded and said, "The 10,000 demon realm naturally has a great sage. This great sage is my 10,000 demon realm's title for the great beings. Could it be that the Dawn Rain continent also has a great sage?" The Dawn Rain continent doesn't seem to have a great sage. Xiao Hua understood and said with a smile, "However, the great sage hall of the 1,000 demons sacred realm has a great sage." With that, Xiao Hua pointed at Feng Wu and said, "This is the great sage hall's first great sage, heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix." "Greetings, great sage." Dai glanced at Feng Wu and hurriedly bowed again. Feng Wu smiled and said, "The great sage that the Empress is looking for. Who is it?" Dai hesitated again, but Feng Wu said, "Since we already know that it is a great sage who has disappeared for a long time, when I reach the 10,000 demon realm, won't I know after asking around?" Dai knew that everything was now in the hands of Xiao Hua, and Xiao Hua was Yuan Ye's master. She had no other choice but to believe in Xiao Hua. Of course, she was also willing to believe in Xiao Hua. "I won't hide it from Taoist Master Xiao." Dai said, "This junior knows some secrets of the Heavenly Feather clan, and also some secrets of the Empress. These secrets shouldn't be told to others, but in order to save the Empress, this junior can tell some of the Empress's secrets. However, senior, please don't force this junior to ask about the secrets of the Heavenly Feather clan." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "If you don't say it, this old man naturally won't force you. How about this? This matter will end here. Can you tell me about the strength of the great sage in the 10,000 demon realm?" "Oh, right, how strong was the Empress that day?" Chapter 4756. Seeing that Xiao Hua did not even ask about Xianwan, Dai was overjoyed and hurriedly replied, "This junior knows. Empress once said that she is an ocean powerhouse of the 10,000 demon realm. When she arrived at the Dawn Rain continent, she may be suppressed by the rules of the realm and can only have the strength of the peak of the spirit's severing stage. As for the 10,000 demon realm's great sage, they are generally stronger than ordinary sun powerhouses. As for their specific strength, this junior cannot guess blindly. Dyer's words were not out of Xiao Hua's expectations. Dyer was young before, and now she was not at the 9th level of essence power. She could not know the true strength of the 10,000 demon realm's great sage. However, Dyer's words still made Xiao Hua's heart skip a beat. The rules of the realm. Yes, the immature realm from before has the rules of the Shenhua continent. The 3 continents and the Dawn Rain continent are the same realm, and the rules are the same. However, the 10,000 demon realm is not the same realm as the 4 major continents. The rules there must be different from the 4 major continents. If Empress's strength is suppressed here, then what about me? Xiao Hua secretly thought, if I go to the 10,000 demon realm, won't my strength be suppressed too? However, if the spiritual realm in my space is similar to the 10,000 demon realm, then my strength should not be affected too much. Xiao Hua pondered, but Feng Wu asked curiously, Dia, how is the strength of the 10,000 demon realm divided? What are the levels of the ocean powerhouses and sun powerhouses? I will let Phoenix Sage know. Dyer laughed. This junior remembers the most clearly. The strength of the 10,000 demon realm is divided into 3 levels, corresponding to the 3 levels of heaven, earth, and demon. Within the heaven realm, there are sun powerhouses, moon powerhouses, and star powerhouses. Within the earth realm, there are ocean powerhouses, earth powerhouses, and mountain powerhouses. As for the demon realm, it is a bit troublesome. My upper clan is divided into clear cloud powerhouses, flowing cloud powerhouses, and wind powerhouses. The lower clan is divided into rock powerhouses, sand powerhouses, and dust powerhouses. The origin clan is divided into spiritualized demon, intelligent demon, and barbaric demon. The water clan. This junior does not know, but it is more called great demon, medium demon, and small demon. Is it that simple? Feng Wu asked curiously, Isn't this a little too crude? Dyer covered her mouth and laughed. Yes, that day when the Empress heard that the Xiaoyu continent's Dao sect was divided into Qi refining, foundation establishment, gold core, nascent soul, spirit severing, void refining, combination, Mahayana, and tribulation passing, she was also very surprised. She even praised that the human race was indeed worthy of the title of the soul of all creatures. This was not flattering themselves, just the division of realms alone was something that our 10,000 demon realm could not do. Xiao Hua criticized in his heart when he heard this. This is merely the Taoist sect's division of realms in Daybreak Continent. If you know the 3 continents, Confucian cultivators, Taoist sects, Buddhist sects, and also the demon race's division of realms, then you'll be even more flabbergasted. The cultivation methods of each sect are different, and their realms are different as well. If not for the fact that the Confucian cultivators have divided their elemental energy into levels, it would really be hard to compare them. Oh yes, in the 10,000 demon realm, in addition to the division of heaven, earth, and demon realm, the most common race is the ordinary spirit race. We divide the ordinary spirit race into great spirit, middle spirit, and small spirit. Dyer seemed to have thought of something again and hurriedly added. Seeing that Dyer finished and did not speak again, Xiao Hua smiled and said, Is there anything else? There's Dyer whispered as she pondered. After a moment, she shook her head and said, Junior really doesn't know anything else. Please forgive me. Xiao Hua nodded and smiled. You were so young when you left the 10,000 demon realm, it's already good that you can remember so much. Dyer smiled and asked again, Junior hasn't seen Little Yellow for a long time, how is he now? Little Yellow and Little Black are cultivating. When they come out, I'm afraid they will be able to catch up to your cultivation. Xiao Hua explained, Dyer, you also have to seize the time to cultivate. No way? Dyer was dumbfounded. How could Little Yellow, however, after a moment, die? Smiled bitterly and said, Empress is right, Little Yellow must be the strange demon Di Ting. His future is not something this junior can compare with. No matter how powerful Little Yellow is, you are still his sister. Xiaohua smiled. You should be happy to have such a powerful brother. Dai? Er's face showed a happy smile. Dai? Huang Tong suddenly asked, if we go to the 10,000 demon realm and agree to let you leave, who will you pass the news of Empress to? Dai? Er hesitated again. Logically speaking, she should pass this news to Demon King Mo Sa as soon as possible. However, she could not explain why Xian Wan was stranded in the Dawn Rain continent. Dai? Could tell Taoist Master Xiao, Feng Wu, or even anyone else about Xian Wan's search for the missing great sage. But she couldn't tell Demon King Masa. Moreover, she knew that although she could not say it, Demon King Mo Sa had a way to get the truth from her mouth. Other than Demon King Mo Sa, I could only send a message to the Flying Feather Clan's Heavenly Blessing Palace. But the problem was that Xian Wan was already married to Demon King Mo Sa. How could the Heavenly Blessing Palace make a move? At this moment, Dai finally understood the sorrow on Xian Wan's face when she was plotted against by Dong Shani. She had already seen the desperation when she used the cocoon and the indifference when she sent the pure feather into her body. This was because she clearly knew her end. It was an unsolvable death trap. It was a death trap that no one could solve. After Dai woke up, her eyes flashed with a pale golden light. She looked from Xiaohua and Taoist Xiao to Huang Tong. Suddenly, she was enlightened and immediately knelt on the ground. Dai pleads Taoist Xiao, pleads all the seniors to make a move and save Empress. What happened to Empress in the Dawn Rain continent was all done by Dong Shan. Empress is merciful and will never make things difficult for any human on the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua raised his hand to help Dai up and said, this old man has already agreed to save Empress and will also let Yunya go with you. But today we will return through the 10,000 demon realm. This old man does not want to hide anything from you, so I will listen to your opinion again. Since you still want this old man to make a move, then when this old man takes you to the 10,000 demon realm, you do not need to return to the Heavenly Blessing Palace. Yes, this junior understands. Dai nodded. This junior cannot return to the Heavenly Blessing Palace at this time. Only after rescuing Empress can this junior return to the Sky Rain world. That's good. Xiaohua smiled. This old man needs something to go to the 10,000 demon realm. I hope you can provide it. What does Taoist Xiao want? Dai was puzzled. She looked at Xiaohua in bewilderment, her mind turning rapidly. Chapter 4757. Seeing that Dai still didn't understand, Xiaohua had to answer, of course it's the language of the demon realm. I don't understand the language of the demon realm, so won't I become a deaf person? A mute? Oh, so that's what you mean. Dai suddenly realized and hurriedly took out a jade slip from her waist, handed it over, and said, I'll let you know that there are countless spirit clans in the demon realm. Every spirit clan has a different language. Although some spirit clans can solve the problem of not being able to communicate with each other, the effect is not good. After that, the Divine Mother of Peacock of the Phoenix Sacred Realm comprehended a spiritual language. Both demons with cultivation and mortals without cultivation could use it. This spiritual language became the common language of the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua took the jade slip and released his divine sense. Feng Wu glanced at Huang Tong and asked Dai, in your demon realm, are there phoenixes? The Phoenix clan is the royal clan of the upper clans. How can there be no phoenixes? Dai answered without hesitation. The Phoenix Sacred Realm has the Phoenix clan, Peacock, Spirit Void, and so on. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he said, Dai, is there a dragon clan in the demon realm? Dragon clan? Er's face was a little blank, as if she didn't understand. She asked curiously, what kind of spirit clan is the dragon clan? Reverend Yun growled and unfolded his dragon body, and said, I am a dragon clan. Maybe, maybe not. Dai shook her head. But I've never heard of it. Then there must be none. Xiao Hua shook his head. If there is a dragon clan, you must have heard of it. Reverend Yun asked, then, among the lower clans, the Water Clan and the Origin Clan, which are the royal clans? The lower clans seem to be the Lion Clan and the Tiger Clan. As for the Water Clan, it should be the Leopard Whale Clan. As for the Origin Clan, I really don't know. Dai Er's words sounded a little hesitant, as if her words were specious. Reverend Yun said curiously, that's strange. The demon realm is the realm of all spirits, the paradise of the demon clan. How can there be no dragon clan? Don't forget. Xiao Hua smiled. If there's no dragon clan, there will be pythons. Xiao Bai's dragon transformation art was obtained by chance in the 10,000 demon realm. Xiao Bai's original form is a python. The Python clan is a lower clan in our 10,000 demon realm. Dyer hurriedly said, their status is similar to the lizard clan. Alright. Xiao Hua nodded. Dyer, you go back and cultivate first. When we reach the 10,000 demon realm, if there is a need, this old man will ask you to come out. Otherwise, the next time you come out, it will be time for you to meet the Empress. Yes, I will listen to your instructions. Dyer had no objections to Xiao Hua's arrangements. She bowed and entered the Shenhua continent. These two. Xiao Hua laughed. One was still young when he left the 10,000 demon realm, so he didn't know anything. One was that his memories still hadn't recovered, so it seemed like he had asked for nothing. I can only wait until I get to the 10,000 demon realm and deal with the changes by sticking to the status quo. No matter. Huang Tong flapped her wings and said, we are not going to stay in the 10,000 demon realm. After entering the 10,000 demon realm, he immediately inquired about the location of the metal and wood elemental magnetism. After taking the elemental magnetism, he immediately went to the space passage in Xiao Bai's memory. Who cares if there is something in the 10,000 demon realm that we don't know about? That's true. Xiao Hua laughed involuntarily and said, this time is the most critical. If we can break the array a day earlier, we can save a lot of lives. We can't delay at all. The trivial matters have been dealt with. Let's seize the time to comprehend the space escape technique. Huang Tong saw the situation and urged, in my previous opinion, fellow Taoist Xiao must comprehend this space escape technique in order to borrow my Dharma body. We can pass through the restriction between the two realms together. By the way, fellow Taoist Xiao, can you lend me the 100 Beast flag to refine? The soul in the 100 Beast flag is very similar to my supernatural power. Of course, Xiao Hua did not hesitate and gave the 100 Beast flag to Huang Tong. Then he thought for a moment and threw the Yin Yang illustration book to the Thunder Immortal and said, fellow Taoist Thunder, we don't need to cultivate any primordial spirit and trusting technique. You can refine this Yin Yang illustration book into the soul-slaying light. No problem. The Thunder Immortal took the Yin Yang illustration book and shouted happily. Also, Xiao Hua opened his mouth again, and 8 cauldrons flew out, landing in front of the 8 doppelgangers. Xiao Hua then instructed, fellow Taoists, this Xiao will refine the Yu cauldron. As for the other 8 cauldrons, please help me refine them. Seeing the doppelgangers put away the 9 province cauldrons, Xiao Hua did not dare to be negligent. He roared and once again activated the throne of creation. The rumbling sound came from the void again. Then, a black and white light overflowed from the void. First, it slowly enveloped the 10 thrones, then the high platform, and finally the entire creation Taoist palace. The black and white light was twisting, elongating, and compressing. Indescribable waves of energy were emitted from the inside. When the fluctuations fell into the air, the surrounding void was torn apart. It was more terrifying than the attacks of the supreme experts of the 3 continents. This strange phenomenon lasted for 3 whole years. On the 4th year, the black and white light began to turn into spots. The spots looked like butterflies fluttering around the Yuanxi reef. However, within each spot, there were countless strange scenes reflected. Some were demon realms, some were Buddhist kingdoms, some were villages, and some were lakes. There were all kinds of strange creatures in them. Between these spots, There were the shadows of the 5 elements primordial beasts dancing and running around. This strange scene also lasted for more than 3 years. On the 7th year, the spots gradually turned into fine lines. As the fine lines spread out, the entire space of the creation Taoist palace became transparent. Xiaohua's transcendence golden body, Thunder Reverend's Thunder Tao body, Wenchu's noble true body, Maitreya's Buddha golden body, Feng Wu's demon body, Taoist witch's green seal shaman body, Reverend Yun's 5-clawed true dragon body, Celestial being's desolate white bone body, Overlord Shi's spirit-slaying devil body, and Huang Tong's soul-devouring demon body. All of them had turned into the size of an indomitable spirit, appearing and disappearing in the space. Waves of terrifying aura rushed out of the Yuanxi Reef. Not to mention the waves of the West Sea, even the sky above was filled with lightning and thunder. On the last year, countless shadows that looked like passageways, cracks, and even rainbow bridges rolled around the Yuanxi Reef. A huge space vortex replaced the creation Taoist palace and appeared in the sky. Inside the vortex, countless stars fell. The shadows of the sun and moon were torn apart. Mountains, rivers, and mountains were all destroyed. Worlds were also born and destroyed in the vortex. Finally, with a loud rumble, the 10th master of the creation gate, Huang Tong's transcendence golden body was born in the vortex. Then, Xiaohua's transcendence golden body flashed rapidly. After 81 times, it turned into Xiaohua's transcendence golden body. Xiaohua's transcendence golden body raised its hand and grabbed. All the strange phenomena were caught in its hand. Even the lightning and thunder, the surging waves, and the shifting of the stars were all absorbed into its body. Chapter 4758. Xiaohua softly sighed, a sound that was comparable to the sound of ghosts and gods. Xiaohua's tightly closed eyes slightly opened. Perhaps it was the light of thunder, or perhaps it was the brightness of the sun and moon. Immediately, the entire space was illuminated by this light. As this light spread out, the spatial anomalies slowly calmed down. Subsequently, the fortune throne appeared, and Xiaohua sat down. After the radiance faded, his avatars also appeared. Shua. After Xiaohua and his avatars appeared, their figures rapidly shrank and fell into the Fortune Tao Palace that appeared in the void. Then, Xiaohua's dignified voice sounded in the Yuanxi Reef Plain. Disciples, enter the Fortune Tao Palace. In these 10 years, the Fortune Gate's disciples naturally didn't dare to stray too far from the Yuanxi Reef Plain. They cultivated on their own and waited for Xiaohua and the others to come out of seclusion. Now that they heard the sect master's command, they hurriedly flew into the Fortune Tao Palace. Princess Zixia, Princess Qingqing, Bai, Yu Xiajing and the others, come in as well. Xiaohua's voice sounded again. Princess Zixia and the others understood Xiaohua's meaning and hurriedly flew in without any hesitation. Everyone stood still and looked at the void high in the sky. The Fortune Gate sect master and the 10 old masters were no different from before. After everyone finished greeting each other, Xiaohua impatiently asked, Lu Yi, have you found the Queen Mayfly? Reporting to sect master. Lu Yi hurriedly answered, there has been no trace of the Queen Mayfly in the Western Sea. Moreover, from the current situation, there has been no news from the Immortal Palace, Lightning Toon Temple, Dragon Island, or Great Holy Hall. I'm afraid they haven't found it yet. But Xiaohua sighed and asked again, what's the situation of the 3 mainlands? Lu Yi bit his lips and said in a low voice, day by day, year by year. The end of the world is imminent. Xiaohua raised his head and looked outside the Fortune Tao Palace. Although the sun was still shining on the Western Sea, there was a faint grayish-black color between heaven and earth. This color had already covered all vitality. 3 years ago, the Lightning Toon Temple sent a simple message. Fujiwen said in a low voice, the Virokana has determined that the end of the 3 mainlands will happen within 100 years. 100 years. Just 100 years. Xiaohua's eyes flashed with a complicated expression. It's just a seclusion, everything is about to be destroyed. All the disciples were silent. Fujiwen looked at Xiaohua's expression and said, Master, there is one more thing. Disciple doesn't know if I did the right thing? What happened? Xiaohua looked at Fu Jiwen. He knew that if it was an ordinary matter, Fu Jiwen would never say this. There must have been a huge change. Fu Jiwen hesitated for a moment and said, when the Mahavairakana world venerable sent the message, he also sent 50,000 heavenly guardians to escort the 500,000 young bodhisattvas. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the Mahavairakana revered one had found out that he had found a way to leave the 3 continents. Sure enough, Fu Jiwen said, after these heavenly kings and arhats arrived, they didn't say anything and just sat outside the Fortune Dao Palace. No matter how the disciples asked, they refused to speak. However, when this disciple looked at them, he understood something. So, Xiaohua originally wanted to release his spiritual force to take a look, but at this point, what was the point of seeing it? He simply asked meaningfully, so you agreed? This disciple is too soft-hearted. Fu Jiwen hurriedly knelt down. This disciple looked at those arhats' childish faces. Although this disciple knew that this was the Mahavairakana world venerable's plan, this disciple still couldn't help. Not only senior brother Fu Lu Yi and the others also hurriedly knelt down. This was the decision made by all of us disciples. Xiaohua didn't comment and asked again, then? Did the Immortal Palace take action? What about the Great Holy Temple and Dragon Island? Not only the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple, and Dragon Island. Lu Yi added, the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas also sent dragon generals to escort the young dragon race and sea tribe. Fu Jiwen added, whether it was the Immortal Palace, Great Holy Temple, Dragon Island, or the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas, all of them sent 50,000 escorts and 500,000 young children. Fu Jiwen hesitated for a moment before continuing, however, the 1,000 Demons Sacred Realm is currently in chaos because the Phoenix Sage is not here, and the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage have been killed. In order to snatch the demon domain, the descendants of the other great sages have attacked the Dragon Sage and Spider Sage's descendants. Xiaohua nodded and said indifferently, this matter has nothing to do with my fortune gate. What about the 100 schools of philosophers? From the 3rd grade families. They sent young children over. Fu Jiwen hurriedly explained, Fu family, Yu family, Chang family. We secretly searched for some disciples. Xiaohua looked at the group of disciples and waved his hand, indicating for them to rise. He smiled and said, rise? Since there's a chance of survival, it's understandable for them to leave some descendants for their own orthodoxies. Our fortune gate is a human race, and we want to be magnanimous to the world. This matter will help them. However, you won't agree so easily, right? There are no conditions, right? How can there be no conditions? Fu Jiwen stood up and smiled, let's not talk about other conditions. The West Sea already belongs to our Dao Gate. The West Sea Dragon Palace also belongs to our Fortune Gate. Master can now appoint the West Sea Dragon King. Forget it. Xiaohua pondered for a moment and said, Jianghu will temporarily take over the West Sea Dragon Palace. Ao Zhan will assist. As for the West Sea, you can make the decision. Thank you, Sect Master. Jianghu's voice trembled as she knelt down and saluted. Looking at Jianghu, Xiaohua was helpless. He originally wanted the little white dragon to be the West Sea Dragon Palace's master, but the little white dragon wanted to follow him to the 10,000 demon world. The West Sea Dragon King's seat had been empty for so long, and it had caused a lot of changes. If he didn't let someone sit there, not to mention others, Jianghu would have an opinion. Moreover, in the entire Fortune Gate, only Jianghu had the qualifications. As for Ao Zhan, Xiaohua didn't want the Fortune Gate to be divided after he left. Rise. Xiaohua smiled. The West Sea is our Fortune Gate's West Sea, and the West Sea Dragon Palace is also our Fortune Gate's West Sea Dragon Palace. Jianghu, remember, no matter who sits on that seat, they are our Fortune Gate's disciple. Yes, rest assured, Sect Master, this disciple will remember this. Jianghu nodded in agreement. Where's Chuanzong? Xiaohua asked again. Lu Yi hurriedly replied, reporting to Master, Chuanzong has already entered the East Sea. This disciple has already sent a message to the East Sea Dragon Palace. If they don't take care of him, our Fortune Gate's disciples will enter the East Sea. Therefore, the East Sea Dragon Palace has already sent patrolling Yakshas to secretly protect him. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 4759. Good. Xiaohua heaved a sigh of relief, then a trace of compassion flashed across his eyes as he said, "Today, this old man called all of you to the Fortune Dao Palace to tell you that this old man has successfully cultivated a divine ability. In a few days, I will tear through the world surface barrier and head to the 10,000 demon world. Do you have a choice?" As Xiaohua's words fell, all the disciples' hearts sank. Although they knew that this choice would come, when it was time for them to make a choice, they felt a little unprepared. Fu Jiwen glanced at Lu Yi, and Lu Yi nodded at him. Then, Lu Yi stepped forward and said, "Master, do you still remember that before you went into seclusion, you told your disciples to think of a way to determine the status of senior and junior brothers? Now that we have discussed it, the one who can survive until the end in this apocalypse will be the eldest senior brother. The one who dies first will be the junior brother." Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes couldn't help but moisten. He really didn't expect that his disciples, who had the aptitude to look down on the world, would have to use this method to determine who was the eldest senior brother. Lightly sniffing, Xiaohua suppressed the pride in his heart and said in a low voice, "So, you have already made the final decision?" "Yes, Master." Fu Jiwen nodded. "We are all humans of the three mainlands, and we have the obligation to defend the dignity of the human race. At the moment when the three mainlands are about to be destroyed, we can't escape, can't hide, can't be cowards. Otherwise, even if we can survive, our hearts are already dead. My soul won't belong to us anymore. Guilt and regret will be like a poisonous snake pestering us." Wang Bianfei also said, "Disciples have already thought about it. Since we are the Fortune Gate's disciples, since we are the disciples of Guan Yin Bodhisattva, we have no reason to retreat at this critical moment. We must fight with the other human race, demonic beast race, and dragon race to the end." Clap, clap, clap. Including Xiaohua, the 10 masters all clapped their hands. After all, to make such a choice when there was still a chance of survival, it required great perseverance, great benevolence, and great breadth of mind. Xiaohua was really proud of these disciples. With such breadth of mind and benevolence, how could the heavenly Tao not favor them? If these disciples couldn't shake the world, then who could? This old man agrees with your decision. Xiaohua nodded. What about those Shenhua mainland's Fortune Gate disciples? Fu Jiwen said, "Master, although those disciples were born in the Shenhua continent and grew up in the Kunlun Wonderland, their roots are still the tens of thousands of disciples who were sent to the Kunlun Wonderland that day. Those tens of thousands of disciples have roots in the 3 continents as well. So, in the end, there's still humans of the 3 continents. Just like the disciples, they have to stay here." "Impossible." Xiaohua shook his head slightly. "This old man knows your cultivation realm, but my Fortune Gate has so many disciples, it's impossible for all of you to be so united." Yu Zhongquan took a few steps forward and said, "Master, senior brother Lu Yi has left this matter to me. I have a name list here. There are indeed many disciples who are unwilling to stay behind in the 3 continents. They would rather return to the Shenhua continent. Please read it, Master." "There's no need to look." Xiaohua glanced at Yu Zhongquan and said, "This old man has already said that no matter what choice you make, this old man will respect it. After all, this is a matter of life and death, it's no small matter. Back then, when this old man didn't see the light of hope, I also struggled. I even wanted to bring you all to escape to the 10,000 demon world." "Yes, this disciple understands." Yu Zhongquan breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the disciples didn't agree on how to deal with these disciples. "Fellow Taoist Lei," Xiaohua said, "go and send these disciples to the Kunlun Wonderland." "Master, don't worry." Fu Jiwen hurriedly said, "Other than choosing not to return to the Shenhua continent, this disciple and the others have 2 suggestions." "What do you think?" Xiaohua said with interest. Fu Jiwen said, The first suggestion is to send our Fortune Gate's female disciples to the Shenhua continent. They are the foundation of our Fortune Gate, we must protect them well. Chang Yuan hurriedly said, Master, this female disciple does not include this disciple. It also doesn't include this disciple. Jiang Hong shouted. Good. Xiao Hua nodded. Then what's the second suggestion? Send the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's ordinary disciples, including Xiong Yi, Li Xiang, Zhai Xingzi, and the others, to the Kunlun Wonderland. Fu Jiwen said again. Senior brother Fu? Xiong Yi exclaimed in shock. How come I didn't know about this? Why didn't you discuss it with us? This is a joint decision made by us inner disciples. Lu Yi replied indifferently, You are all outer disciples, and your strength is shallow. When facing the world-exterminating ephemera, you won't be able to resist. Rather than being a hindrance in the West Sea, it's better to return to the Shenhua continent and continue cultivating. Although Lu Yi's words were not pleasant to the ears, Xiong Yi and the others could hear a strong sense of protection in his words. Li Xiang shouted, Senior brother Lu, you're an inner disciple, but you're also a Fortune Gate disciple. Which Fortune Gate disciple would shrink back in the face of a world-ending calamity? You are a human from the hidden Immortal continent, and this disciple is also a human from the hidden Immortal continent. This is the key to the survival of the human race, and everyone has a responsibility. This disciple will definitely not enter the Shenhua continent. You can choose not to go, but all the other young disciples and disciples below the nascent soul realm must enter. Lu Yi said without hesitation. Hearing this, Xiong Yi was overjoyed. Of course. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, Xiong Yi, Li Xiang, you don't need to say any more. Lu Yi is right, our Fortune Gate can contribute to the 3 mainlands, but we can't destroy our descendants because of this. Your strength is shallow, and you won't be of much use against the world-exterminating ephemera. Why don't you stay in the Shenhua continent, and when Master goes to the 10,000 Demon World and Dawn Rain continent, you can spread your branches and leaves there. Li Xiang wanted to say more, but Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, This matter is decided. Ordinary disciples don't have your leadership ability, and the entire Fortune Gate depends on you. From this point of view, the burden on your shoulders is more important than Lu Yi, Fu Jiwen, and the others. Li Xiang and Xiong Yi looked at each other, then knelt on the ground and said, Master, please rest assured, this disciple will definitely bring glory to the Fortune Gate in other world surfaces, and will not disappoint Master and senior brothers. Good, you all go and pack. 10 days later, follow this old man to the 10,000 Demon World. Xiao Hua didn't hesitate, and just as he was about to wave his hand, he suddenly thought of something. His gaze went past Lu Yi and looked at the silent black bear hiding at the side.